Welcome back to episode 203 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with Troy. What's going on, Troy?
Not a whole lot. We are trying to get my son's baseball game in that's been pushed for the second day in a row because yesterday was freak rainstorm. Poor team that we're supposed to play drove from New Richmond, Wisconsin. So about 50 minutes, an hour. They have no weather on the way. They get to Farmington and boom. 30-minute downpour. There's one little cell that sat over Farmington. Fields flooded, no game. If you would have went 3 miles east or west, we'd have played. It was just crazy. And then today, the same thing happened in the morning. It rained really hard for like 10 minutes, and then there were supposed to be storms tonight, so we pushed the game to tomorrow. So hopefully we get it in at some point.
Have you ever had this much rain in a baseball season?
No, this is by far the worst it's ever been.
Yeah, the whole state is kind of weird. Like, I don't know if I mentioned that when we were up north for the 4th of July, our dock is completely underwater.
Oh, wow.
And it's on the highest possible level. It's just crazy. And most docks on the lake are underwater. The lake level has never been this high. It continues to rain.
Mm-hmm.
We almost didn't do the show, Troy. I'm going to admit, I just had to peel myself off the couch. So Netflix today released a docu-series in NFL One about wide receivers. Super good. So far, I'm still on episode 1. And something I could literally sit and binge watch probably the entire thing. And as I'm watching it, it made me very excited for the NHL docu-series that is supposed to debut, I think, this fall.
Yep.
I'm a little nervous that the Netflix people that seem to have this down to literal science, right? That started with the F1 show and then the golf show. They did like quarterbacks this year. They're doing wide receivers. So hopefully there's similar production quality to it, but just so compelling to follow these player stories. So yeah, I kept thinking as I'm watching it, I just pray that the NHL one is that good. Anything else going on before we got like probably a long show? So I assume we should get going.
Long show, lots of stuff going on.
Yeah. Quick reminder before we get started is that the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast. That means we rely on listeners like yourself to help us cover our show expenses, produce more and hopefully better hockey card content, and help us fund initiatives even in a small way to grow the hockey hobby. It's very easy to support us. You can do it through Patreon. It starts at $5 a month. You can join our $1.99 support level tier. You forever get that title. Also, get exclusive access to our Gong Show Discord server where you can chat with us and the rest of our crew, which is growing every month. It's pretty amazing. Every day there. To join us and support us, it's very easy. You can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, click on the Become a Patron link at the top of the page, or go to the Patreon website directly, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. There's a link if you're listening to us on a podcast app or watching us on YouTube in the descriptions. And then finally, in our Instagram, TikTok profile, there's a link there too. Troy, we have one new patron who joined our $1.99 tier, I think just today. Paul D599, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate your support.
Welcome to the Gong Show. Two guys that can't speak French, but love hockey cards.
Guys.
Welcome. No, sorry. Didn't shut up. No, we just got to get our money's worth out of these things.
Okay. Man. All right. I love it.
Aim in the ground.
All right. On today's show, we begin with the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 3. Yeah, number 3. Man, I had a brain fart right there. Then it's off to a discussion with Mitch Gropman that came out of a record sales post that we posted today on our Instagram account. And we wanted to have the discussion and look at the question, to post or not to post. That's about as snark or literal Shakespeare quote we can get.
Shakespearean as we go.
Shakespearean. Next, it's off to Rookie Deep Dive. This is followed by Hobby News. We then have a discussion with Mark Hill from MyCardPost around the challenges of building a hobby business. We end the show by looking at some of our favorite hockey cards in the current PWCC weekly auction and any personal pickups.
Is this our second straight show with 2 guests?
Oh, it might be.
After never having 2 guests?
I think so. I don't remember having 2 before.
Yeah, crazy.
Okay. Previously, we looked at the greatest NHL player that wore the number that matched our episode number. We ran through all the numbers, so now we're looking at the almost greatest NHL player to wear each number from the runners-up in the Hockey Writers' Greatest NHL Player to Wear Each Number article. the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 3. Per the nominees in the Hockey Writers' Greatest NHL Player to Wear Each Number article, and selected by me, is Zdeno Chara, who now I'm laughing to myself as I looked at the picture. And of course, I found a jersey where he's wearing 33. Why would I put him in a jersey of the actual number? So he didn't wear 3 his whole career.
Okay.
And he's switched around 33, and I can't remember if he had another one. But our boy Zdeno Chara, here he is in all his glory and his height. The other runner-up at number 3 was Gary Galley. And as a reminder, the greatest to wear number 3 was Pierre Palat. Is that right, Palat?
Yeah. I think right. So. Yeah, I think you did good.
We're gonna go Palat. Overview for Chara, defenseman from Trenčín, Czechoslovakia. A little more on Czechoslovakia in a bit. Chara was selected 56th overall in the 1996 entry draft by the New York Islanders. I can't believe he was selected that long. He didn't even retire that long ago. I mean, I think I was in college then. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Chara played in 1,680 regular season NHL games over a 24-season NHL career. Chara played his first 4 seasons with the New York Islanders, then played 4 seasons with the Ottawa Senators. Oh, we need Phil on here to tell us all about the Chara era. This was followed by 14 seasons with the Boston Bruins. Then it was 1 season with the Washington Capitals. Chara ended his career with a final season with the New York Islanders. Okay, awards and accomplishments. I put future Hall of Famer because I'm pretty sure he's locked in to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. We'll see. Maybe Lanny McDonald will get mad at him because he's friends with Yager or something, but we don't know. 1-time Stanley Cup winner, 2011 with Boston. 1-time Norris winner. 1-time Mark Messier's Best Friend Award winner. Sorry, Mark Messier's Leadership Award winner. 3-time NHL First All-Star Team selection. 4-time NHL Second All-Star Team selection. 6-time NHL All-Star Game selection. Named to the NHL's 2000s All-Decade Second Team. And also named to the NHL 2010s All-Decade Second Team. I have no clue why this guy's the only one I remember ever seeing that he was on this All-Decade team put out by the NHL, but whatever. I must have missed it on everyone else. He was also number 57 on the Athletics top 99 NHL players of the modern era. For his regular season stats, 209 goals, 471 assists for 680 points. Chara made the playoffs in 16 of his 24 NHL seasons, compiling 18 goals, 52 assists for 70 points in 200 NHL playoff games played. Best season or best regular season of Chara's career from a point standpoint was his 2011-12 season, where Chara had 12 goals, 40 assists for 52 points in 79 games played with Boston. So Chara was known as a physical force on the defensive end during his playing career. He was a reliable stay-at-home defender early in his career who was known as what we like to call a defensive defenseman. However, as his career progressed, he developed into a two-way defenseman who could also put up some points. He was tough to play against, intimidating, physically strong, and a punishing hitter who was not afraid to drop the gloves. He also had one of the, or maybe the hardest shot ever in NHL history. Josh, I think this is more fascinating is what he's done after retiring. So after retiring from the NHL, Chara decided to start running marathons. In his first 12 months after retiring, Chara completed 8 marathons. And it's not like he just casually ran these. He completed the New York City Marathon in 3 hours, 19 minutes, and 19 seconds. That is bonkers. And however, that is not all. He has also completed a half Ironman, a 50-kilometer trial race. Is that trail race?
Trail race, I think.
Trail race. And completed a couple road races as well. However, now he is turning his attention on triathlons. So he's just going to be doing that. And Chara has also continued working on ResTech blade grips, which I'd never heard of, but they're a company that he invested in while he was playing and he actually used. And it's an alternative to the normal hockey stick tape. So it's almost like, it's almost like a sticker that you put on. It's like one piece and you put it on and goes on the stick like hockey tape. But yeah, so the man's a machine. He just running marathons, going to do some triathlons, but good for him for staying active.
When he's what, mid-40s at this point?
Yeah, gotta be mid-40s. Yeah, because 1930. Yeah, he's probably 45-ish, 46,
Jeez.
47, somewhere in there. Okay, fun, interesting facts. Nickname Big Z. With his Stanley Cup win in 2011 with Boston, Chara became only the second European-born and trained captain to lift the cup, after Nicholas Lidstrom of the Detroit Red Wings, and the first from a country behind the Iron Curtain, which was Czechoslovakia. Since then, Ovi and Gabriel Landeskog have joined this elite club. There you go.
No,
Chara?
that's not true.
Who?
The recent Stanley Cup winner, there's one more.
Oh, well, who? Barkov?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't. Yeah, okay. Wikipedia wasn't updated, I guess. Well, actually, I think that was from his NHL. That was from his NHL bio.
Yeah, Wikipedia failed you, Troy.
No, that was the NHL bio. Chara holds the record for hardest shot at the All-Star Skills Competition at 108.8 miles per hour in 2012.
Okay,
Chara,
you're a goalie.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
you comprehend? Can you wrap
No.
your head around stopping a 108-mile-an-hour shot?
Because the shots I saw, I mean, we were just getting into aluminum sticks, so 2 pieces, and I played with wood sticks. I bet I never saw anything close to 90, maybe. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if I was lucky. Chara holds the all-time record for most regular season games played by a defenseman with 1,680.
That's pretty impressive. Like to beat like Paul Coffey or Chris Chelios.
Yeah, for sure. 24 seasons, man. If you can stay healthy, you'll do it. Chara is the tallest NHL player of all time at 6 feet 9 inches. His sticks were 67 inches long and were actually 4 inches longer than allowed by NHL rules. However, Chara received a waiver from the NHL to use the sticks.
He must have had them specially made. There's no way that.
No, he did. He's for sure they're custom. Because all these guys, they're all sponsored by equipment companies, and they probably just made it for them.
Can I point something out to you? And I say this with love. We're now 3 for 3 on pictures where he's not wearing the number 3 in his.
Yeah, that's awesome. I better look it up. Did he actually wear 3? I better look this up after I do this whole segment on him. All right. Chara is a polyglot and is fluent in Slovak, Czech, Polish, Russian, German, Swedish, and English. Yep.
That's not fair.
Well, I was going to say he's fluent in 7 languages, and Josh and I aren't even fluent in 1. So I feel bad. In 2014, when Chara tore a ligament in his knee, he got bored being away from the team and went on to go get his real estate license. So now he can sell real estate. I don't think he ever used it, but this guy seems like he has to stay active or he's going to go crazy. Chara was the second to last player to play in the 1990s. I did some research, and I believe the last active player to have played in the 90s was Joe Thornton. But I thought they both retired the same year. So I don't know. Maybe I was misread something, but they were the last two holdouts. So absolute fascinating guy. Has to keep busy or he goes crazy is what I've learned. His rookie card, Josh. Here we go. Look at this thing. 1997 SP Authentic, number 186. Future Watch. So PSA 10 pop of this thing is 16 with a 6% gem rate. So not a lot of them floating around. Last sale of this card I could find was on May 9th of 2023 via eBay, verified in Terapeak, for $3,333.33 US. A PSA 9 copy of this card sold on May 11th of this year for $450 US via eBay, verified in Terapeak.
This hobby is so weird. Not that Chara is not a all-time Hall of Fame caliber player, but he is.
Yeah.
There's so many great players whose rookie cards are worth nothing.
Yeah.
And this guy's is $3,300. I get it. The pop count is small, but wow.
I see where I made my fatal mistake with Char and his number. He wore 3, but he never wore it with Boston, which is the team he played for the longest. So he wore it for the Islanders, but then he went to 53. And then he was 3 again with the Islanders, 3 with the Senators for a couple of years. Yeah, that's where I screwed up. Oh, well, whatever.
We forgive you.
Yeah, he's still the almost greatest story number 3.
Okay. To post or not to post, Troy? That is the question.
Juicy. Is this hobby drama? Is this hobby drama?
I don't know. Wasn't supposed to be, but I went and created a ruckus today on our social media. I'm sure you're like probably sitting at work and all of a sudden the notifications like, what the
I did see a lot of notifications come through. There was a time I was like, oh God, I mean,
what happened?
There was a lot. And then I finally looked and I was like, oh.
Well, I'll set the stage a tiny bit because I think I do it more when I talk to Mitch. But we do record sales posts almost every day on social media. And there's some big Cale Makar sales this past week. Found a cup one for an NHL collection out of 2019, basically an RPA out of 35 PSA 10 sold for $13,000, roughly $750, which is way more than any other cards from the NHL collection subset that have sold to this point. There's also a raw one with like $1,000 or best offer response. But it was verified in Terapeak as paid for, and it's kind of what we do when we see sales. We do a record sales post them, ask people what they think, and people had thoughts.
Yes.
Right? A lot of them directed at us about maybe saying that we shouldn't post sales like this, and definitely have a perspective that we talked to Mitch about. And he was one of the people that chimed in and maybe thought that we should delete the post. And we were doing the hobby a disservice by posting stuff like this. Yep. And so I thought, well, we can go back and forth in the comments all day, or why don't I see if he wants to come on the show and hash it out? And so we did that, and we're going to roll that conversation with Mitch Gropman now. Want to welcome back to the Gong Show, Mitch Gropman, who is making a unscheduled appearance today after we got into a little bit of a debate over a social media post that we made, and thought, I think it's a really good conversation, and thought there's, maybe others can benefit. So we decided to continue the conversation here on the podcast that we were commenting back and forth on social media. The other reason, Mitch, I'm going to be honest with you, is I don't like text typing a lot on my phone. And so any sort of long-winded conversation, I kind of prefer to do this way. But welcome back. Glad to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, so I'm going to set the stage, and then we'll hopefully get into a good discussion. We did a post today, as we often do, on record sales. And what I'm going to do, Mitch, is I'm going to kind of explain our process, my thought process, and then I'm going to let you interject your opinion, and then we'll go from there, if that makes sense to you. So how we find record posts is we use all the kind of same tools everyone else has. And I've just always been really fascinated. I kind of like this stuff. We tend to, our social media sort of reflects our interests in the hobby, and people seem to like them, so we do them. And I found a number of very high Cale Makar sales. And the first thing we do is we go into Terapeak and check that they're paid for, and what I'll state is really the best tools we have now to verify that a sale actually happened. Probably not bulletproof, like I'm sure you'll get into. Went through that. Noticed right away that this sale, which was for a 2019 The Cup NHL collection, it's a RPA, not a true rookie. It's out of 35. It is a PSA 10. Had sold for $13,753 US. It seems very high for given the Makar market. I mean, now maybe a sale like this would have made sense right after they won the Stanley Cup when everything went crazy. But the first thing that I thought of is, oh, wow, that's really high. Probably not paid for. Going to Terapeak, Mitch, it's paid for. And at that point, I have a decision to make, because there's a part of me that, of course, knows that, wow, is this like an outlier, right? Is there a chance that somehow there's funny business or manipulation or whatever you want to call it? Or did somebody just get really excited and pay a whole heck of a lot for probably a card that you would never pay nearly this amount for? Now, at that point, I have a couple of choices. Okay. I can walk away and find another card to post, which is the path of least resistance, we'll call it. I can post it as is, which I did, and see what the community thinks, and I'll get into that more in a second. Or I could do some sort of like, do we think this is real kind of post. And ultimately, I decided to kind of post it as it is versus the safest bet would have been the easiest bet to walk away. The safest bet to do some sort of is this real sort of post. But my thought process there always comes back to are we interjecting bias now into that? Are we kind of like tailoring the response basically by questioning through the post if it's real versus do we use the tools that we have available to us, the only things that we have to verify sales, and then post it and see what the people think, and then maybe that creates a discussion about that exposes flaws in the system, which I want to get you to, and I'm going to turn over to you in a second. But don't let me forget that you made a very good point about comps that I thought was excellent in the actual Instagram post that I want to talk about here on the show. And so, yeah, maybe call me a glutton for punishment, but posted it and got a lot of response. Most some strong opinions, which I think is a great thing. I think it's fantastic. I'm learning and growing every day, and as I mentioned to you before, our intention here on anything we do is not to win arguments or win debates. I have no interest in doing that with you today. It's to ultimately do the right thing. And if you convince me that posting something like this is the wrong thing, then yeah, then probably won't do stuff like that in the future. So sorry to be long winded, but that was sort of the groundwork. And now maybe you can chime in and kind of when you saw this, what your reaction was and what your thoughts are on should people like us post stuff like this.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously there's a lot there. I think I'll start by saying, my initial reaction to seeing the post is, when I look at the post that the Gong Show makes, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my overall view is that you guys are trying to help people generally, not entirely, but that are newer to the hobby and figuring it out. And they're kind of like going on this journey with you guys who are also newer to the hobby. Would you say that's a fair characterization?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay. So, with that in mind, someone who is very new to the hobby and maybe they've never bought a cup card in their life, and maybe a $1,300 sale versus a $13,000 sale, they probably have no gauge on what type of sale would be absolutely ludicrous versus just a really expensive card if the most they've ever spent on a card is $50. And
Hmm.
knowing how the average Instagram user behaves, I think it's more likely than not that the majority of people that see this post will see new hockey card record sale, $13,000 for
Yep.
this Kale McCarr card, which you can buy on eBay right now, still up as of this recording for $1,000 or best offer. So
Yep.
to people that are, I guess you could say, more aware of Kale McCarr's market, when they see a sale that's 13x another asking price, to me, it seems very obvious. Maybe this is legitimate and there's a legitimate reason that that this sale happened. But I think the absolute best case scenario is something very strange happened, and this is an extreme outlier that I would hesitate to include in a data set. In statistics, usually extreme outliers are excluded from data sets.
Yes.
So when we see something like this, and there were a bunch of other, shall we call them suspect Kel McCarr sales on July 7th, where it looks like someone went in and bought exclusively PSA 10 copies, I should add, of various Kale McCarr rookie cards at very, very high prices. And
Mhm.
this one was the highest of them all. Um, But I'm also very curious what happened here, because all those cards were from different sellers, and most of them, there are other copies of that card for sale on eBay at a lower price, much lower price. And like some of them, I actually messaged the seller of this card to see if they could shed any light on, did you actually ship this card? Was there a chargeback? I know that there are a lot of chargeback scams in the hobby where you can have your credit card company charge back eBay. You can also just scam eBay entirely and buy some high dollar card and then tell eBay you never got it and then fight some long battle. You can show them some other thing. There are a lot of ways to kind of game the system on eBay. There are also ways that you can game Terapeak. You can, I don't think that happened here the more I looked into it, because it seemed like one guy just bought from a bunch of different sellers. But you can create your own account and make a second account and then buy your card, pay yourself, and then refund yourself. And then it would still show up on Terapeak. So if I wanted, I could create a new record sale tomorrow for a Kirill Kaprizov Young Gun for 10 grand if I wanted to. And no one could really stop me. And it wouldn't cost me anything. And the other thing I would say to...
Wait, can I stop you there real quick?
Yeah.
Just because... two really quick things. So first, just a point of clarification, and it doesn't change the fact that this is a really high amount, but you mentioned that there's another copy of this card for sale on eBay for $1,000. It's raw, and this is a PSA 10. So you would expect, like in a normal, like if somebody had bought the PSA 10 for $4,000, I'm assuming you wouldn't have batted an eye at that. You would have said, oh, that's people paying the PSA multiplier. Whatever you choose to do is your own business. But right. So it's probably not. I'm just saying, my only point there is it's not a 1-to-1 comparison to $1,000 card. Whatever multiplier you use, fine. And then the second point I want to make is, yeah, it is mortifying to think that somebody would see this, be influenced by it, and pay way more than they maybe could or should, or however you feel there. I have kind of, and I don't know the right answer here, so I'm just going to come flat out and say that. But also, if we don't do a post like this, and we don't have people like you in the comments and other people kind of questioning this, is what if somebody just goes to Terapeak and spends way too? Which I would love to think more people see our posts and go to Terapeak, but I know that that's definitely not the case, right? And so by posting something like this, does it actually um, put the conversation out there in the discourse to try in some small way to create conversation around change, and either how the tools that we use put pressure on the companies to change them, or to some degree change how we view the veracity of the tools that we use and have to take everything with a grain of salt. So that's where I don't know. I'm just being honest with you. I don't know what the right thing to do is. I don't want to do posts and cause harm to anybody. That's never the intention. But I also want to, we've done a lot of work on our show to around this problem. I don't know if other people have done more work, but we've devoted episodes around fake comps and using at least Terapeak as at least an extra layer of defense in trusting a comp. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's what I would say to that.
So my response to that would be, you said you didn't want to have like this selection bias, but I would argue that there probably still is a limit. Like, I'm assuming that if this sale popped up and the sale price on Terapeak was $20 million, I'm using obviously a ridiculous number, but if in a theoretical world where that happened, would you have posted the same post? The only difference being it said 20 million instead of 13,000.
That's a good question. I'd like to think yes, but I don't know. That's because I do. I see I see where you're coming from. I really do. Right. And I understand that. And again, that's not our intention, but and I think actually now is a good time to get into the point that you made that I'm going to leave for you to reiterate just about sort of, I hope you know what I'm talking about when you're talking about just comps in general. Can you kind of state your perspective on that?
Yeah, so a lot of people in today's day and age, if you go to a card show, you see this everywhere, more so in America than in Canada. But you see people, Terra Peak is kind of the Bible for a lot of people who are buying and selling cards these days. And, I'm someone who's been collecting for a long time. 10, 15 years ago, there weren't comps and you kind of had to just like know what you were doing and you have to know about the cards. And it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of sad. Like a lot of dealers these days, like really don't know that much about the cards and they're just kind of a slave to Terra Peak. And to be honest, I'm surprised that people don't manipulate it more because to me it seems like if I was a maybe a less ethical person, it would be pretty easy for me to create fake comps and go to a show these fake comps and have them pay me 70% of that number. Because usually that's the experience. They look up the comps and they say, I can offer you 70% of this number. There's no additional, like, well, I know, at this time, maybe like, if there are some dealers obviously that know what they're talking about and they're a little bit more savvy than that. But there's a ton of dealers who really, like in 2024, that's entirely how they operate. They look at the comps on Terra Peak, they'll pay you 70%, and they'll hope to get 90% or 100 or 120, depending on the dealer. So these types of outlier comps can be really harmful. And I'm not saying that the post is doing that, but just the fact that it exists on Terra Peak is what's harmful. But to me, I feel like you kind of have an opportunity here to kind of share outliers with your audience. And I think if I'm someone that doesn't know anything about high-end cup cards, I have no way to know that this is an outlier. And I have to hope that there's someone in the comments being like, this is insane. Like, no one would ever pay this much money for this card. But if I don't see that, then I really have no way of knowing just based on the post and your description, which just said it seemed very high, but there's no skepticism, in my opinion, in your description of the sale. And so if I'm a new collector, I have no reason to think that this is not a completely legitimate sale. And I do think there are more things like I reached out to the seller. I don't know, are they going to reply? I don't know. I also actually reached out to a couple of the other sellers of the other Makar cards to see if those sales seem normal. Because I'm just very curious at this point. But I think in the future, I don't think it would be that much extra work to message the sellers and ask them if there's any additional like hey, was this sale legitimate? Did this go through? Is there any context for this? Like that could be very helpful. And I think like it probably takes 30 seconds to I know how much work you guys do, but I think that would probably be a minimal extra time investment to kind of get and I think only just for these extreme outliers, which I don't think are super common, but maybe it'll become more common when people become more savvy to how easy it is to manipulate.
Here's like my challenge with all. First of all, I appreciate that, and it is noted about messaging the seller, so good feedback. Thank you for that. There's a practicality side to this, and then there's an opinion side to this as well too. So let me tackle the opinion side first. We've done posts that are similar to this where the comments have been very much the same, right? Where people are like, this is fake, there's no way, this is ridiculous. And more than once, the buyer of the card has messaged us has been like, I bought the card and I paid for it. And here's the receipt. But they were, they don't want to publicly do that in the comments because they would look pretty foolish if everyone thinks that the amount paid is so ridiculous that and we're not going to put them on blast either, right? And no, that doesn't mean that this particular sale was true either, right? But just so people know, right?
Yeah.
That there is, when you comment and say fake, right? That's an opinion. You can't argue that it's not. right? There's no way, there's no factual way to tell if it occurred or not. And so that, and you know, you mentioned like that in our description, we didn't introduce skepticism. In this one post, if you go and read my description, it's the most skepticism I've ever used in a post like this. Because typically I try to sit very much on here's the facts, what do you think? Right? Is that
Yeah.
our goal isn't to be isn't to editorialize stuff like this. It's to present the information and then get feedback. And in that sense, I would just in that perspective, I would argue that this post worked perfectly, right? Because it got people like you who know more about the cup than anyone else to be like, whoa, this is weird.
Yeah.
I would have a heavy doubt of skepticism on as an expert and a guy who's lived and breathed the cup for many since it came out, that this just doesn't seem right to me. I also acknowledge that if you don't take the time to read the comments, it can create a false perception. And that's where the struggle that I have in how to proceed going forward with something like that. And then there's the practicality of it. Is like, yes, there's extreme outliers and those can be harmful. I could maybe give you the argument though, like again, let's say that this was a $5,500 quote unquote fake sale, manipulated sale, and nobody would bat an eye. And maybe well, actually, shoot, I kind of screwed up there. Like I said, I don't know anyone that knows more about the cup than you. This copy of a PSA 10, it's a very nice card, a very nice patch, right? What would your expert opinion on the value of it be? Like if you were to buy, if I wanted to buy this card and I said, Mitch, what should I pay for it? What would you say?
So, and I have to just give my disclaimer that I have never purchased a Kale McCarr card.
Sure.
However, that being said, in my experience, cards like this that are typically the lower the print run of a card, the less of a premium you're going to get for a high grade.
Yeah.
So, like I see people all the time, like they'll grade limited logos and they'll say, "Oh, it's PSA 9 Pop One or something," and they'll try to use that. And then you like go to the pop report and there's like two graded.
Yeah.
So something like this, because it is a rookie year card, it'll have a little bit more of a premium than say it like a signature patches. However, I don't think it would even be 2x. And when we reference the $1,000 one, that's a listing that no one has bought and it's OBO.
Sure.
So maybe the raw value might be closer to $500 or $600. I don't know. I haven't looked at the comps. I don't know if there are any recently. But because I know that they're way lower than in 2022.
Sure.
So if there's one on eBay for 1,000 or best offer, maybe 600 for a raw and 12 to 15 for a PSA 10 would be
Okay.
my
Okay.
educated
Okay.
guess.
And again, it's just an opinion, and it's a
Yeah.
very educated one at that. But like I said, you're all you can do is offer your perspective. So let's say there's somebody manipulates Carapeak and does a $3,600 sale
Mhm.
on this, right? And it's totally, and then they refund whatever they do, they refund it. It's not real. There's harmful intent behind what they trying to game the comp system. I guarantee you nobody would bat an eye. And then they take it to a card show, like you said, they get 70%, and all of a sudden they walk away with $700 more than the card is worth. Right. I would probably argue that as maybe as crazy as it is to do something like that at such an exaggerated level, like 13,000, that situation, if this happens at 13 grand is nefarious, it happens way more at the lower levels. And started and could something like this, could a sale like this, not that we position it the right way or are not open to criticism for that, help open the eyes to that? Because the kind of like the funny thing to me, and you tell me if this is too defensive or not trying to be, is a lot of sort of the criticism, which is fair and fine, is directed at us, but nobody criticizes the system that we get our information from and says, "Whoa, there's something broken here that that we need to understand and learn more about." Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, totally. And I'll let you know that I just got an eBay ping from one of the sellers of a different card, and they messaged me saying that the sale was paid for and they shipped it. And so we know at least one of these Makar sales is legitimate, or in the sense that um, they're not immediately refunding or charging back. Could they still be a future victim of eBay scam? Yes. But there's some breaking news for you.
There we go. And so to get a little back on the practicality thing, so if it's your opinion that we shouldn't post sales like this, then I understand that. But then now the again coming at it from that practical standpoint, where's the line? Who decides what the line is? Is your line different than my line? Different than another commenter's line? If it's a $9,000 sale, is it so ridiculous? If it's a $4,000 sale, is it still ridiculous? That's kind of the pickle that we get put in a little bit on this. Is I don't want to be the arbiter of what is fake or not. That's because I'm not qualified to begin with. What I want to do is present the information and let the community kind of weigh in at that point.
Yeah, and I think that's a very fair point. I guess what I would say to that is, if it were me, for these what I would consider extreme outliers, I would just do a little bit more digging.
Mhm.
Maybe I'd post, maybe I would message with seller. Maybe I'd post something on my story like, "Hey, we saw these sales. Does anyone know who bought them, or like, can anyone verify these sales?" Because I know that like in the past I've sent you sales and I've said I know who bought this and like is legitimate. So think like there are ways to get a deeper level of verification.
Yeah.
Maybe we could call it that. But in a lot of cases, there's just going to be no way. It's going to be some private buyer, and the seller won't tell you anything, and that's hard. But
Well, one of the things there that is we get approached a lot or messaged a lot to post private sales, and I never do. And I just tell people I have no way to verify this. It's not that I don't trust you, but I'm just not going to do it. Right? Because the
yeah,
one thing that Parapeak does, as flawed as it probably is, in which you pointed out, is that it does at least give you that imperfect layer of, okay, at least we know this was paid for at one point.
yeah, and that's fair. And there's no obviously there's no perfect system, and you guys are at a disadvantage just from the fact that you guys are trying to report on a system that has many flaws. And so I don't envy you at all for that. There's not going to be a way to do what you guys are doing that's not going to have either people like me, or on the other end people that say, wait, no, I actually did buy this. And I think there is a line. Maybe it's 5x. I don't know. To me, like, obviously we can debate about what the line is, but I think something like this, where it's so much, like, to me it's about 10x what I would expect this card to sell for. And I think anytime a card goes for 10x what you would expect, it probably warrants at least some digging. Not and that's not a
Yeah.
criticism of the way that you guys posted it here, but maybe I would be a little bit less like, I don't know how to say it, like, wow, look at this, like in a way. And I don't have the answer right now, but I can noodle on this. For if I am a newer collector that doesn't know this market, how I might be able to realize that this sale, whether or not it's legitimate, is at least if there's a way for us to know that it is an extreme outlier. And that's regardless of whether or not it's legitimate, which we can't really know.
Well, but doesn't putting the previous sale, high sale, point out that it's an extreme outlier?
It might, but I think someone who I think for us, who it would, but I think a newer collector might not know that in 2022 cards were way more expensive.
Mhm.
Some people, they might not know the difference between a 2018 sale and a 2022 sale, and maybe they've seen a 2018 sale previously where the new sale was 50x what the 2018 sale was because of the COVID boom. So
Mhm.
I think if I'm a really new collector, that might not be as indicative to me because that was a couple of years ago. Maybe if the previous high sold, 3 months ago, then even a new collector could probably parse that out. But that's where I'm thinking about it. Someone who like just started collecting in the last year, how they would interpret this.
Yeah, I totally understand that, and it's in my mind though, it's a bigger issue than this. If you're a brand new collector, it's probably a bad idea to spend $13,000 on any card because there's so many pitfalls in this hobby that it takes years to understand. It's like, that's the great benefit, of course, that a guy like you has is, intimately and can, because there is the other thing too. It's that whether the sale is legitimate or not is that the way our system works is that a lot of people would assume that this is now the new market price, but I know I can just tell, like, for a guy like you, that there's no way you buy that argument. If somebody tries to sell you this card for $14,000, you're just walking away,
Yeah,
right?
maybe. Well, maybe. All right. Here's an idea. What if? And I know. All right, you might not like this because this would be a little bit more work. But what if in future posts you also included the last three comps?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I could do that. In some cases, it would, for high volume cards, I could see it making sense. I don't know if there's been 3 sales of this card. Maybe there. I think there's
I
been
think
just the.
I think there has, and if there hasn't, you can just say,
Yeah.
here's two comps and that's it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean that's something we could look at, and but I think ultimately what this discussion comes down to is that, is there more harm in potentially creating, or well, not create, we didn't create anything, right? We're just, this is what the system we use tells us, right? Is there, so to rephrase it, is there more harm in potentially amplifying to some small degree the a sale like this, or is there more good done through the discussion that it creates?
I think it maybe the language that is used in the posts where I think it could be communicated in some way that Terapeak can be manipulated or not like like completely ironclad. Like even
Mhm.
in the comments on this post, there were people that were surprised to hear that Terapeak could be manipulated. So I think there are a lot of people who think that Terapeak is an ironclad way to verify a price. And I think the language used in the posts kind of give credence to that idea.
Yeah, I could see like a standard Terapeak disclaimer that it's not foolproof, then you have to, use your own opinion and judgment.
Yeah.
So
And then
I think that's
what
that's a
about
good piece of feedback.
also if if you post us something like this and then someone messages you privately, hey, I paid for this, maybe just editing the post or posting something on the story like verified by buyer, so that people
Yeah.
can have an additional confidence that the sale is legitimate.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good idea too. I would probably ask the buyer to do that. And even like where I would probably never reflexively reach out like you did, I'm glad you did, to the eBay seller, is I tend to be a little more squeamish around privacy and stuff like that. And it's like, why would they want some random hockey card podcaster saying, "Is this sale real?" But maybe I should
Yeah.
get over that, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the way I framed it was just like, hey, there's some discussion about this sale. Are you able to shed any light on it?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, well, but I think then there's the whole other layer to this, is that this is like the third layer of this whole comp issue, right? And by the time you get to Terapeak, it's like 10% of all the comp problems. The much larger issue, which we've tried to address for a long time, is that most reporting systems, everyone outside of Terapeak just uses completed sales from eBay sales history, which are presented as sales, right? eBay sales history. and even if they're not paid for. So if you go and look at, and I haven't done it in a month or two, but last time I checked, like the top 10 Leon Draisaitl sales ever, I think 7 or 8 were paid for. So I mean, this whole system is very flawed.
Yes, and I think I think the biggest takeaway for your viewers should be to think more critically about comps.
Mhm. Well, and I think too, like if you're going to make a big purchase, like if I was interested in this card, having the benefit of knowing you, I would reach out to you and say, "Hey, I'm really interested in the card. They want 13 grand for it. What do you think?" And you'd be like, "Bonehead, run. It's not worth that." Or right, and so I would, and so if you don't have a Mitch Gropman, ask somebody, right? Get a second opinion, and sort of the measure twice, cut once sort of philosophy, right? Don't be in the business of impulse buying $14,000 hockey cards. Go to a card shop, get opinions, ask people around, and make sure that you're making an informed decision. Because to your overall point, yes, that's one of our goals is to try to help newer people and really everybody, make the best choices for your collection.
Yeah, I think that's a great messaging.
So where does this leave us? What do if you're me, if you're us and you're me, what do you do going forward?
I would have a disclaimer about Terapeak, and
Done.
I think including, and you can decide if you want to do this or not. I do think that including 3 most recent sales would paint a much better picture on where the sales fit in the market, and kind of also give a trajectory of sorts. Um, I think that would be really helpful. I think it would be more useful information than a single data point, because there's going to always be outliers, and I think that information would kind of help your viewers be able to distinguish
Hmm.
between what is an outlier or what is an upward trend, and there's a big difference. And the more astute that you become as a collector, the easier it becomes to kind of make these observations on your own. But my recommendation is to be, if you're going to be in this hobby for a long time, commit to being a lifelong learner, and learn as much as you can, make more educated decisions, and don't use comps as the bible.
Hmm. I'll tell you my take. Well, first of all, thank you. Very good input. I'll think about the top three. Maybe I would put those in one of the challenges with Instagram is it's a very small box. And maybe so put something like that in the description, but then you're like, well, everyone says nobody reads descriptions anyway. So I don't know, I'll think about that. But I do definitely agree with the Terapeak disclaimer, and so I thought that is very helpful and useful, and thanks to that. My takeaways are this: is that, do we ever know if this sale legitimately happened or not? No. People are certainly entitled to their opinions, but I would challenge people that are like very demonstratively like, no way this has ever happened, right? It's like, well, you don't know, right? And I think that that's part of the point, is that as strong as your opinion might be, it's not an absolute. And then beyond that, even if somebody did pay $13,753 for 2019 The Cup Kale McCarr NHL collection out of 35 RPA with a pretty nice patch and a good auto, that it doesn't mean you should too. Right? It's like one
Yeah,
sale doesn't determine because there can be I think that your whole argument on outliers is just as valid for legitimate and illegitimate sales.
completely agree.
Mhm. All right. Well, did we have we covered this enough? Is there anything else that we should talk about?
I think that pretty much covers it.
Oh, I have one more thing actually. And
Yeah.
what I hope too that this illustrates that we've been able to do for people is that it's okay to have like healthy disagreements and discussions, right? I think so. And part of the reason why I was glad that you came on, Mitch, and why I wanted to have you on is that a lot of this stuff in turn it turns into an inevitable. There's a whole keyboard warrior mindset, right? People get very strong language when they're behind their phone screen. And but where I think a conversation like this is really beneficial is that when you're willing to be respectful of other people and listen to other people's input, that actually you learn, like you said, you learn and grow and positive things. And so I've been able to take away some really good ideas to help improve what we do in the future. And I think that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, and I mad respect to you guys for being open to that kind of feedback.
Cool, man. All right. Well, I'm sure we'll have you on again soon. Congrats again on your Panthers winning the Stanley Cup. If people are listening, you're still rocking the Panthers jersey, which is pretty awesome.
Every day.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon, Mitch.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we're back. Want to say once again thank you to Mitch for taking the time last minute to come on the show, give his perspective. Very happy to hash things out with people, to have a good debate, learn stuff. I think that's very healthy. I think it's good to get stuff like this out there. But like we said before the conversation, Troy, you were just, this was sort of all my doing. And now...
Is this me like slowly walking back into the bushes like Homer Simpson?
Yeah. Sort of drug you into this whole mess. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
So here's my thoughts. One, thank you to Mitch for coming on. A lot of people wouldn't, but I appreciate you coming on and having a discussion. Second, I'm going to jump around a little bit. I think this just shows that eBay needs to get their act together again and figure out how they can help with this problem. I think we were kind of talking offline. If there was a way for eBay and Terapeak, let's say it does get refunded, a sale or canceled or something. I'm not sure if they pull them off Terapeak. I don't know. I know we've talked to people that have had refunds, but the sale would still show on Terapeak. They need to put some kind of like flag or some kind of note on there, sale was refunded. Keep it on Terapeak if you want. I actually would prefer that. Keep it on Terapeak, but put a note. So I think it's kind of opened that up, that eBay, there's something that they can do. And my second thought was, if you didn't post this, no one would know about this sale or would know about maybe there's an issue with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's and it was like this discussion. This wouldn't have happened and brought this issue to light again if that post wasn't put out there.
Well, like I said, like I told Mitch, Troy, there's three options that ran through my mind.
Yeah.
The first was just skip it, find another card, and take the path of least resistance, which gets tempting on certain days, right?
Yeah.
The second is to create some sort of like new post template that says, hey, this happened. Do we think it's real?
I got an idea. Every sale like that, you do the shrug emoji. Where the guy's like this, like shrugging. I think you do that. You put it in.
But okay, I understand that, and I thought of that. But my challenge with that is, doesn't that necessarily?
Because we'd be wrong half the time, probably.
Well, it could be wrong, and it slants. If the idea is to get
your bias,
true feel, you're biasing your audience by kind of feeding them what they are, our perspective on it, right? And so, and the third way is to just use the data we're given. Use the imperfect system we have, throw it out there, and then let the hobby decide, right? Let the people decide and get a consensus, start a conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where change comes from. So it's not a simple answer. There's merits to the idea that posting something like this could create a false perception. And we don't ever want to do that. That's not our goal. We have nothing invested in Cale McCarthy.
I don't have anything invested in anyone. Unless Pekka Rinne takes off. You see those Pekka sales start flying.
Pekka record sales left and right. Here we come. So,
like you said too, right? I want to jump on your point there. It's like, again, nothing is black and white. It's not a 0 or a 1. This isn't a binary thing. It's like there's this gray area, murky middle or whatever, the muddy middle. And Mitch makes some points. Yes, I agree. There's some stuff Mitch says. I'm like, So, but this is where we're at. Use what we can.
Well, I hope we continue the discussion. I hope people chime in and give your reaction. I don't care if you post it on the Instagram or the YouTube and
tell eBay to fix it.
Tell eBay to fix it because we're just
Well, we don't know.
Don't
We
shoot the
don't know.
messenger.
Well, we don't know if this was refunded. Like that's the big thing. No one knows. Like unless someone has proof that it was, that it's not an
Well,
actual.
like Mitch said, one of these big sales, I don't know if it was this one, he contacted the seller and the seller said, yeah, I paid and I shipped the card. Well, you really hope in the case for the seller at that point that it is not a nefarious person that all of a sudden initiates a chargeback and you ship the card and now the money gets taken away and your card is gone. So yeah, again, a lot to unpack. Very grateful for Mitch coming on and chime in. Let us know what you guys think.
It's time for another hobby deep dive.
These pauses, I don't know what to do. It's like I'm looking at you and I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, well, I just had to find the button. Hey, you're the button bar guy. Doing your job.
Yeah, button bar.
Yeah,
okay,
we're back with another hobby deep dive. There it is. There it is. All right, hobby deep dive. Here we go. Second straight week, Trey, we're going to do a rookie deep dive. Right now, the focus is still on the 2023-24 rookie class with a heavy emphasis on the extended series Young Guns rookies. How it works is we select 4 potential deep dive candidates, throw them up on an Instagram poll, let you guys select the deep dive player for the week. Before we get into this week's candidates, here's a very quick look at the 2023-24 rookies we've covered so far. What is it, Troy? It's about 15, 20.
Got a lot.
So not going to read. Last couple we did Adam Fantilli 2 shows ago, then Korchinski, Bobby McMahon, Zach Benson. We sort of followed Series 1, Series 2, and then Extended Series. That brings us to this week's candidates. Did a little bit of cheating here, but I'll get into that in a second. So from Extended Series, we did Simon Nemec. I don't know how you say it. Logan Cooley, Matt Savoy. So I heard somebody on a video say, and I thought this was like kind of sexy. Matt Savoy.
Oh, Savoy.
Savoy Fair, right? Whatever that means. I don't know.
I don't know. Isn't that a saying? Laissez faire?
I don't know. You're asking me.
And now it's we've divulged our, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. We're talking French.
And then, so those are 3 extended series guys. There wasn't anyone I was really excited about adding to the list from beyond them, right, of the 30 Young Guns. So I threw in a Series 2 guy we haven't done yet, Simon Edvinson. So 2 Simons on this week's list. But at the end, Troy, was not very much of a close vote. With 50% of the vote.
That's right.
To no surprise, this week's Rookie Deep Dive is Logan Cooley. What a treat for us, Troy, to be able to feature one of ours.
I have to jump in real quick. You're going to love this. I have to say this. So go back one segment to our post on the record sale.
Yeah.
We just got a comment. I have to read this. I disagree with everyone here and say this sale is real. Only because I have this card available for sale now for $10,000 USD if anyone is interested. Now that's classic. I love it.
There we
Great
go.
comment. Okay, sorry. Back to Logan.
So I was saying, with 50% of the vote, that makes this week's Rookie Deep Dive, Logan Cooley, our own Golden Gopher. Logan Cooley. Now, Troy, might surprise you. He was not born on the Gophers. Because you can't be born on the Gophers, but you can be born to be a Gopher, Troy.
Yeah, so you're lucky Doug Woog wasn't the coach, because he wouldn't be on the Gophers if Doug Woog was still the head coach. Woog was all about you have to be from Minnesota.
You're right. We'll get into that. Because Logan Cooley's story does start earlier than his run with the University of Minnesota. He's just 20 years old, comes in at 5'10" tall, 175 pounds, and Troy hails from the mean streets of West Mifflin, which is in the greater Pittsburgh area.
Now, West Mifflin sounds very highfalutin.
Yeah, highfalutin. He was inspired by his older brother, Eric, to play hockey, started at a young age, grew up, Troy, playing in the Penguins Elite Youth Hockey Program. Right? That's pretty cool.
Cool.
Now, being from, so he played the Penguins Youth Program from basically Pee-wees until 16U, was a fairly prolific goal scorer at a young age. Now, you'd think being from Pittsburgh, playing for the Penguins Youth Organization, and basically being a kid during Crosby's prime, you think Logan would be a huge Sidney Crosby and Penguins fan, right?
I would.
Yeah, I would too. Nope. His favorite team, Troy, was the Penguins' rival, Washington Capitals, and this guy was Ovi.
Wow. Shots fired.
Yeah. Now, when asked about being a bigger fan of your hometown team's rival than the hometown team itself, here's what Cooley had to say. He said, I definitely get a lot of hate for that. I was a big Ovechkin fan, loved the way he played, loved the way he scored goals. I just saw him on the Capitals and became a big Capitals fan. By the 2020-21 season, Cooley left Pittsburgh for USA Hockey's National Team Development Training Program, including playing that season with the USNDT. Oh, too many letters. USNTDP juniors in the USHL, where he had 15 goals, 13 assists for 28 points in 27 games played. He played a second season with the US U18 or US National UAT team, scoring 27 goals, adding 48 assists for 75 points in 51 games played. In 2019, Troy, Cooley had committed to play college hockey at Notre Dame. He won, though. He'd come to his senses. Decommitted from the Fighting Irish, preferring to row the boat with the University of Minnesota. That summer, though, Cooley was eligible for the 2022 NHL draft, basically after playing a second season with the National Development Program. And just because I can't help myself, here's the synopsis of the scouting report headed into the draft. Dynamic offensive player with a high hockey IQ.
Yep, there it is. 99% of every scouting report has high hockey IQ.
His excellent puck handling skills allowed him to maintain control at high speeds. His vision and playmaking ability are standout attributes. He can create scoring opportunities for his teammates with precise passes. Cooley also has quick and accurate shot, making him a dual threat, both a playmaker and a goal scorer. I think if you're a scout, I figured it out. Here's what you do. You write 10 slightly different scouting profiles. And when you go to a team, you just turn on like the Netflix wide receiver show and just use a random number generator. And it's like, oh, Logan Cooley, number 7. They're literally the same. I mean, they don't tell you anything. Do they?
Oh, a little bit. Sometimes they do. Of course, like when you read, I'll say this, when you read The Athletic and you go through the really deep dives they do, and they'll have video attached to them, you learn a lot on those.
Regardless, the consensus was he would be a top 5 pick and was selected 3rd overall by your Arizona Coyotes. I know we're getting older, but these kids just look younger and younger when they're drafted. Don't they? It's crazy.
Yeah. So what year was this? 2022 draft?
Yeah.
Is that what? Okay.
So there's 2 people selected ahead of him. Do you have any idea who they were?
Beniers.
No. Give me one more guess.
Don't ask me. I'm so bad with remembering when people were drafted.
Number 1 was our boy
Slavkovsky. I should have got that.
And then Simon Nemec, right? Who was another candidate for rookie deep dive. So the top 5 in the 2022 draft were Slavkovsky, Nemec, Cooley, Shane Wright Revenge Tour.
Yeah.
And then Cutter Gauthier, who Flyers fans around the world love. If we did a redraft, is there a chance you think that Cooley would go number 1 overall? Or is Slavkovsky's size still so tantalizing?
I think Slavkovsky's size is still... I mean, look, Montreal thinks he's still number 1, boy, with that contract they gave him.
Well, after the draft, right, Cooley kept on course with his intention to play college hockey, joined the University of Minnesota for the 2022-23 season. In that freshman year, he scored 22 goals, added 38 assists for 60 points in 39 games played, including helping the team get to the national championship game that we don't want to talk about. We're going to move on. His 60 points are just 2 behind Thomas Vanek's Gophers record of 62 for freshmen. Named the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Was a Hobey Baker finalist. So here's what's kind of twisting my head up and nuts about this. Cooley is named Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Loses Hobey Baker to other Big Ten freshman Adam Fantilli. How does Fantilli win the Hobey Baker, but not the Big Ten Freshman of the Year?
That stuff's weird. That happens. I'm trying to
controversial, I guess.
Yeah, that's weird, but whatever.
Cooley was also named an All-American after his freshman season. After the loss in the national championship game to Quinnipiac, Logan originally intended to return to the U of M for his sophomore season, kind of made that declaration right away. But Troy, the call to the NHL and Mullet Arena was too strong.
No.
Signed his 3-year NHL entry contract last July and joined the team for training camp and then the preseason. Here's something that's kind of funny about Cooley going to the NHL. He went from playing at Mariucci Arena in Minnesota, which holds 10,000 people, to Mullet, whose capacity is half of that at 5,000. Is there any other college player that ever went to a worse arena
No kidding.
than the NHL? He made the team out of camp and made his NHL debut on October 13th, 2023 against the New Jersey Devils, where he had 2 assists in his first game. Not quite an Austin Matthews debut or 4 goals or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I would say 2 apples is a pretty good first game. He played all 82 games last season with the Coyotes, recording 20 goals, adding 24 assists for 44 points. He was named, Troy, to the NHL All-Rookie team, joining Connor Bedard, Luke Hughes, Pyotr Kochetkov, and 2 Wild players, Brock Faber and Marco Rossi.
So we can claim Minnesota. We can claim half of the All-Rookie team. 2 players and 1 guy that played for the Gophers.
But we can't make the playoffs.
We can't make the playoffs.
Yeah. As far as like where Cooley stacked up compared to other rookies last year, he finished tied for 3rd in goals with Tyson Forrester with 20. Marco Rossi had 21 goals. Connor Bedard had 22. Then Cooley finished 4th in points by a rookie with 44. Bedard had 61 points, and both Faber and Luke Hughes had 47. So I don't know. I think all things considered, a pretty good rookie season for Logan Cooley. Hopefully a stepping stone into bigger and better things for 2024-25 as he travels up north with the rest of the old Yotes. Troy is now a franchise building block for the newly formed Utah Hockey Club, pending new name, of course. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? You got to see him play here in Minnesota a little bit. I don't know how many Yotes games you watched last year, but what do you think of him as a player?
As a player, just from watching him in college, he was fantastic. Like the thing that I always noticed, just his separation, his ability to use his body. It's pretty amazing. We can see him doing it right here, literally. If you're watching on YouTube, pushing his arm out, making sure the player can't get around him. No, he was fantastic. He'll be a good NHL player. Hopefully a great NHL player. But I think going to Utah is probably an awesome thing for him because, like you said, he can be the face of the franchise.
Yep. A lot of fans, a lot of excitement. He seems to be like I said, the building block as of right now. So let's look at Cooley's hobby market for a couple minutes. He is a 2023-24 extended series Young Guns. So it was just released a couple of weeks ago. It's selling raw right now in the $28 to $30 range. It is coming down a little bit, Troy. After the initial spike we see when a new set comes out, it was $10 higher, something like that. I did check the PSA 10 or PSA Pop Report today. There have not been any cards that have been graded, any Young Guns that have made the Pop Report to this point. So just the raw ones for now. And then finally, here's a look at the top 5 highest selling Logan Cooley cards to date, which with each's respective top sale. And of course, as a reminder, any sale made via eBay has been verified as paid for in Terapeak. Number 5 top selling Logan Cooley card is a 2023-24 SP Game Used Authentic Rookies RPA out of 25. That sold for $424 US by eBay Best Offer on May 4th. Not a bad looking patch. Those are sticker autos though, but not a bad looking card in my opinion. The number 4 sale is a 2023-24 Young Guns exclusives out of 100. Raw sold for $538 US via eBay auction on July 8th, so just a few days ago. Number 3 is kind of an interesting card.
Yeah, this one, I saw the picture and I was like, what? I'm like, why would this be one of the highest selling?
Well, it's got Cooley and Bedard. It's a 2023-24 Tops Now. Cooley Bedard Blue Ice out of 10. It's still in the sealed pack, which is kind of odd. I mean, that's very unique to the Tops Now stickers. It's a sticker essentially, right? Sold for $650 US via eBay Best Offer last November. So it's very early Bedard. Probably was hardly anything of Bedard in a Blackhawks uniform at the time. So you have to kind of weigh that in here too. Number 2 sales, the 2023-24 Upper Deck Young Guns Outburst Red out of 25 raw that sold for $1,389 US by eBay Best Offer, I think earlier this month. Forgot to add the date there. And then the number 1 sale, Troy, is another Young Guns. This one, the High Gloss out of 10. Raw sold for $1,573 US by eBay auction on July 6th. So there you go. A lot of young guns, a lot of recency since the set just came out. That's a wrap on Logan Cooley. What did we learn today, Troy? Anything?
We learned that Cooley is good. He's going to be the face of Utah.
Makes good college decisions.
Good college decisions, even though his first decision was a little iffy.
Bad.
He came to
he
himself.
learns how to he learns how to recognize mistakes and make corrections.
There you go.
All right, got to make a quick mention for Gongshow partner sponsor Slab Sharks. We, of course, are very thankful for their support of our show. The current Slab Sharks weekly eBay auction ends tonight. Be sure to check out slabsharks.com. See all the hockey cards available this week. Pick out your favorites and place your bids. So many collectors, Troy, are choosing Slab Sharks for their eBay consignment services for, I think, a number of reasons. First, they are customer focused, work very, very hard to make the process simple for you, then give your cards, I think, one of the best chances to reach the largest pool of collectors, right? That's all you want, is for tons of people to see your card and have the opportunity to bid on them. Plus, and of course, they do all the work. They take all the photos, do everything, do the listing, shipping, you name it. They've also provided awesome tools, right? You can see unpaid items. You can very easy to, I don't know what else other than unpaid. I'm kind of blanking here, but because their new portal, it is just amazing.
Well, yeah, you can go into their app and you can see all your listings there and everything.
Yeah, you got your history for what you've listed, what you bought through them. It's pretty awesome. And then they have the app as well. Then there's the weekly auctions, which have really become a hobby event. So there's the potential to reach tons of collectors when you choose Slab Sharks to consign your cards. And for complete consignment info and to start the process today, visit slabsharks.com or download the app from whatever app store. I think in both Apple and Android. Hobby news.
All right, hobby news.
Ooh, your puppies did it.
That dog is outside. That's how loud she is.
No way. Did you teach her hobby news?
That's her trying to say hobby news.
Hobby news. Okay. Well, Troy, we have another $2 million hobby theft.
Oh my God, I'm all over the place. The dog threw me off. Yes, this is crazy.
Yeah, the hobby world's all abuzz. Another big theft, this time occurring last weekend at the Dallas Card Show.
Yep.
Thanks to for all the info. You can see the full story there.
Collect. We give them credit.
Amongst like 1,000 other places, right?
Yeah,
We're not unique in bringing up the story of any stretch, but I do want to get your thoughts on it. So here's the setup. This was a crew job. It's not a one-person deal. It was very seems like a little Ocean's 11.
Yeah, a little coordinated.
Coordinated, had a plan. A bunch of guys ended up distracting workers at a table. And while everyone's distracted, one guy comes in, grabs a case with $2 million worth of cards in it, and walks off. Now, the $2 million thing is very coincidental, of course, because we had talked about the Strongsville incident earlier this year, where another $2 million was taken from your favorite hotel, Best Western.
Best Western. Yeah. Love it.
Well, here's what was stolen. 6 1952 Mickey Mantles, a Tom Seaver rookie SGC 10, a 1916 Shoeless Joe Jackson, amongst other hobby grails.
Yeah, find the picture of the layout. Boy, there's just everything is just banger after banger in that these people got.
Yeah, and like I said, you can watch the video of it happening. Very coordinated, very Ocean's 11-esque. I don't want to say impressive because it's bad people doing bad things, but yeah, they definitely had a plan, and they wasn't foolproof though. Like you're seeing, like there's some good security footage. There's lots of pictures.
Yep.
When there's that level of detail, normally I think these people get caught, so I don't give them good odds to evade this for longer. But and so that's the backstory. No, here's where I literally think of you in these situations all the time. Troy, if we were set up at a card show and we had a case with $2 million of cards in it, I'm almost positive at some point you would need medical attention during the show.
I would have it handcuffed to me. I mean, there's no way I could even. I mean, I'd be hyperventilating half the time, sweating.
That's what I'm saying. I think I literally think the paramedics would have to come because you would have a nervous breakdown.
Well, a lot of people say, and this might be the thing that makes people have armed guards or private security at their booths. Now we know some of the shows. I don't know. listen, I'm not sure. I don't know the back ends of the show. Maybe Mikey. This is something we talked to Mikey about. But I'm assuming there's security there. But
Mhm.
when something like this happens, I mean, it's crazy. But just to have that $2 million case, it was like under a table, if I remember how the video was. They get distracted, and a guy's just acting like he's folding up chairs or putting chairs away. And then when the guy gets distracted, he walks up, knows right where to grab it, grabs the case, and out he goes. So yeah, listen, this should never happen. They shouldn't have their cards stolen, but man, I would be a nervous wreck. And if I had a $2 million case of cards.
Yeah, I'm really conflicted on this because part of me agrees with that 100%. And you can make the argument, well, if you have the means to have a $2 million case, you have the means to hire a security guard, right? You should, anyways.
Well, it's like the shipping thing with the Strongsville show. It's like, why are you mailing a $2 million package of cards? It's the same kind of deal. I wouldn't leave them. But again, I don't want to victim blame. We can't victim blame because it should have never been stolen in the first place.
Then I wonder too a little bit about, well, have you ever thought like walking around a show like the expo and how the value of cards that are kind of just sitting there? And has it ever like struck you that it's like, oh wow, there's like, it wouldn't be too hard, right? To like the cards get fairly exposed in these cases that aren't locked, and like there'll be a McDavid case with like crazy RPAs or something like that in it. And my fear is it's a little bit like that. Like, what's the reaction going to be? Are things going to get like very much locked down? Are we going to have to be further away from key cards? Yeah, I don't know. Is it going to almost like make the show experience have to get a little bit worse?
Well, I'm not sure it needs to be locked down like as the show's going on because you have a lot of eyeballs on it. But boy, definitely during cleanup or just where these situations where you can get distracted very easily, it's like keeping your wits about you or having, hiring a private security or having someone sitting there always with the $2 million case of cards or whatever. I think this will be an impetus to make people a little more, I don't know what the right word is, heads up with their collections and what's going on at shows and maybe at the end or setting up and all that stuff.
I do think shows will, like, organizers and event planners will respond to. You made a good point. I am excited to talk to Mikey around the next expo to see if this has any impact on their plan. I thought I saw something like Dallas was going to increase security. I know that the people were the victims, and you're right. We're not going to victim bash anyone here. They have offered a $70,000 reward, and like I said, the pictures seem high quality enough, and where they got the faces of everyone. Where my hope is eventually these people get caught.
Well, yeah, and they got it down to where they find one of the guys paying. Like obviously use cash, but I'm wondering if they had cameras outside because they're not going to give away
get a license plate or something.
Yeah, they're not going to give away everything they have on these guys because they're probably. I mean, I don't know. It seems like they're going to get caught eventually. So maybe they're being like scoped out right now just to watch surveillance.
Let's hope they get their cards back. That would be a good ending to the story and for justice to be served.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw this next one, Troy, but you have to check this out on Instagram if you haven't.
There it is.
It's kind of awesome and weird all in the same ways. So I've titled this story Kaprizov, potentially the grizzly bear hunter. A couple days ago, our boy Dollar Bill Kirill posted an off-season update on Instagram with literally no caption. He just posted the photo, and we're not like big on, we're old, right? We don't know all the social media faux pas, but I think that's like something typically people don't normally do. And if it's just him like with his arm around some buddies at the beach, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to describe the photo for everyone who is listening. Because again, with no caption, we have to interpret what's going on here. So he's in an outdoor setting, looks like a remote setting, a mountainous setting, where he's on a rock, kind of laying down on a rock face, like laying on his elbow, with the baseball cap on backwards. Everything's fairly normal so far. Nice, beautiful, scenic outdoors scene. He's wearing camouflage, basically from head to toe, camouflage pants, camouflage jacket. And then he's wearing what looked like very high-tech camouflage fur-lined Crocs that are boot Crocs or something like that. What are those?
I have no clue. They look like moon boots. His foot's halfway out of one. It looks like they are something else. If you're watching on YouTube, I zoomed in. There you go, in all their glory.
Is he back in Russia in the Gulag, or did he get conscripted in the army? What's going on here? Is he hunting grizzly bears? What do you think is going on here?
We need to reach out to those guys. Have you ever seen the guys that they play like GeoGuessr game? One guy's name's Rainbolt. It's fascinating. They just show him a picture, and then they go on a map and they pick where that picture is. They're incredible how these guys can get it so accurate. I guarantee they'd look at this and they would know where this is in Russia or wherever it is.
And because there's no caption or post description that he wrote, the comments are gold. Like, it's worth going, and because everyone is sort of captioning, right? Sort of the
outdoor glamour shot. It looks fantastic. I like it.
I just hope that that's like Montana and not Russia. I want him to go home. I want him to see his family. Yeah. I want the Wild to bring them here, though. Actually, I don't want him to go home. I rephrase that. I do want him to see his family. I want the Wild to bring him here because I'm worried about him was that 2 years ago now? Or was that 1 year
ago? That was a while ago when it was all after the COVID stuff and trying to get him back to the country, and he ended up in the Bahamas or something. Or no, was it Dubai? Where did he end up? He flew somewhere, and then they
had to sneak him across the border or something.
Send him back or something. It's just chaos.
So again, go read the comments. They're pretty much gold. Okay. We had the opportunity a day or two ago now to talk with Mark Hill. Mark, of course, is the founder of MyCardPost, sponsor of this show. Very grateful to them for that. A platform that I really love and has made my hobby experience a lot better. I'm a trader now, never was before MCP, so that's kind of fun. They've supported our show, of course. It doesn't change how big of fans we are. We'd say the same things if they didn't support us too. And we've gotten to know Mark pretty well, I would say, over the past year or so. And he's really a fantastic human being. Yeah. And by my too, Troy, he's also doing something crazy, crazy beautiful. He's a regular guy, has a vision for a better online marketplace for the hobby. And he's making a go of it, largely competing with like giant companies. It really seems like a David and Goliath situation. He's taking on the Goldens and the eBays and ComC's, right? And as we talked about, the platform is working, it's grown, but just like our Confessions of a Car Dealer series we're doing to Sylvan, it's not easy to start a hobby business. There's lots of ups and downs, and in fact, a lot of times it's pretty hard. And since it had been a while since we checked in on MyCardPost, what they were doing, wanted to see kind of what's new, where they're going, and just what it's like being a guy in the hobby, funding a marketplace on your own and taking on those big companies. And so it's a real, I think, open and honest and frankly inspiring to me in a lot of ways conversation that we hope you guys will really enjoy. So without further ado, I guess, here's our conversation with Mark Hill of MyCardPost. We are pleased and excited to welcome back Mark Hill from MyCardPost back to the Gong Show. Well, Mark, I looked up today because I was curious. You were last on a show on October 26th of 2023. So it's about 9 months ago now. And so I wanted to catch up with you and see what's new with MyCardPost, kind of get a little insight into the life of a hobby entrepreneur. So welcome back and nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's this is my third appearance on the Gong Show, so I'm super stoked to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Are we going to need to get what is it with SNL, Troy? Is it like 5-timers jackets?
Yeah, the 5-timer jacket. We're gonna have to get jackets. Get the special lounge where they all go if they're for the 5-timer club.
Yeah,
I don't know if we have the budget for jackets. Maybe like cardigans. Is that what we would do? Like the 5.
I'll just take a sticker. A sticker would be fine.
Yeah. Well, we have a hard time getting those too. So you'll be waiting a while.
We would do a 1990 style starter parkas, like the big. I had an Oregon Ducks one that was just awesome. It was puffy, green, yellow. It was obnoxious, but I loved it.
Yeah, I think those are actually in style again. Not kidding.
I'm sure they are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's been 9 months.
Yeah.
MyCardPost is still cranking away. You're building your hobby business and living the life of a hobby entrepreneur. And so I kind of want to start maybe with like the last, 6-9 months, something like that. And just what would you describe? Like, how's it been? kind of continuing to build the business?
I mean, it's a roller coaster. It's an emotional roller coaster. There's exciting times, and then there's not so exciting times. And I think last time I was here, if it was about 9 months ago, we were kind of in a really exciting period, like heading towards the end of last year and the early part of this year. Our growth was like really taking off, and we had done some strategic things from a marketing perspective that really helped, put a little fuel on the fire and kind of ramp up some of our growth that is needed, right? For a business like this. I mean, it needs to grow and scale. And that was really great and exciting to just month over month and see that. But, success is not linear, and, it does kind of come back to reality at some point. And, we're probably now in a period where we've hit kind of like a little bit of a plateau, I would say. It's summer, there's the economic situations happening in the world, but overall, it's still really exciting. The platform is very strong. Our members love it, and we're just going to kind of keep plugging forward here.
Yeah, I want to dig into that quite a bit, and I've said this before, and everyone knows that you guys are a sponsor, so we've been very open and honest about that. But I've also been very open and honest with myself in particular, how much I love MyCardPost. Like, I literally I would have not as good of a hobby experience if I didn't have MCP to trade on, because I was never a trader. I would never have done it. It was like, no, I just buy and sell. And then we got connected with you, started to check out your platform. People started to propose trades. And I'm like, wow, this is really easy. I like this. And I've gotten so many great cards over the last probably year plus now. And so you're not going to find a bigger champion of your platform than me. But you're right, though. When you start a new business, there's lots of ways to put it, from the low-hanging fruit phase to the honeymoon period. And it tends to be a little bit easier to gain market share because you got a lot of early adopters, people that are looking for new things. And then it seems like when businesses are new and you get in a year, 2 years down the road, you kind of grow up a little bit and have to put on like your big boy pants, and now it gets real, and you're a mature business, and you're not the shiny new toy anymore. And so what was it like dealing with that? Was it hard at first to kind of come to grips with that it's not just going to be exponential growth every month, or were you expecting it?
I think at the time, maybe it was like, exceeding expectations in the beginning, but then, like most things, you do kind of get used to it, and you think like, man, month over month, oh my gosh, like a year from now, this is, we're going to be huge. And, so it is deflating a little bit, if you will. But, to your point, the reality of it is this is kind of the journey, right? This is the journey of an entrepreneur. I mean, I've seen, how many videos of people that have built successful businesses, and they talk about those early days where, again, there's like a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of early mornings, sometimes you're just doubting yourself, like, hey, is this going to continue to go, or are people going to continue to love this platform? And so, emotionally it can be tough, it really can. But, a lot of the feedback I get from people is still incredible. And, that's kind of what like keeps me going, is that people every single day are sending us message. They love this platform. New people that are joining are like, holy cow, I can't believe I'm just discovering this now. Like, this is amazing. And again, I really just kind of put back to the origins of this, which is I really just tried to build something that solved the problems that I was experiencing, right? I wanted there to be this platform that was built for the hobby, was built for the average collector, just like me. I'm just an average Joe, if you will. And, just felt like there was a lot of gaps in the different marketplaces that were out there. So I built this. I didn't have a lot of grandiose expectations in the beginning, but as it starts to gain traction, you get more and more people, joining and checking it out, and it starts growing, then you do start to need to put your big boy pants on, if you will, because this is a legitimate business. This is a growing marketplace, if you will. And, I feel responsibility to continue to improve it, to grow it, to take care of it, to feed it, to ensure that our members are having the best possible experience that they can.
Well, I keep forgetting too, Troy, that there's new people that listen to our show all the time. And so probably before we get even further into the kind of the experience and the last year or so, why don't you just give somebody that may not have heard of MyCardPost or has not tried you out before, why did you build the platform? What do you think it achieves for the hobby that nothing else does?
Yeah. So for people that are just hearing of MyCardPost for the first time, so essentially what it is it's a subscription based marketplace. It's free to join. If you just want to be somebody who just buys cards, you can join for free. No subscription is required. But really, when I started on this, building this platform, my early light bulb moment was around kind of the challenges that the fee based model and all the other marketplaces was bringing to the hobby. It was really making it difficult for people to buy and sell. There's all these different fees. It has to be anonymous. You have to watch what you say, all this stuff. You can't trade. There's so many restrictions that come with these fee-based marketplaces. And my light bulb moment was, if I built a subscription-based marketplace, now I can really focus on a community where people can get to know each other. They can be themselves. They can connect on social media, and all this stuff can be publicly available to them. And you can trade, and really there'd be just no limitations at that point going forward. So that's what I set out to build. And then ultimately the second part of that was really just trying to replicate that card show experience. Here we are coming up on the National in a few weeks. There are so many people that are going to be traveling out there, because the types of deals that they can do in person at a card show, you can't do anywhere else online. Previously, before I built MyCardPost. So again, all those different types of deals and transactions that you can do can be done on MyCardPost. You can buy singles. You can load up a multi-card cash offer to a seller and make them an offer on an entire lot. As a buyer, you can advertise and promote that you're buying on the platform, and community members can come to you and say, hey, you're buying, I have these 52 cards, would you be interested in making me an offer? And then you can trade. You can trade cards for cards or cards plus cash, any combination of the two. So that was really what I set out to build. And, here we are. Well, it's been about 20 months since we launched the beta version of this thing. And it's been pretty good for the most part.
Well, one of the things I've noticed too recently is I'm starting to see more hobby shops, I think, that are using the platform to get a lot of inventory. And so they're kind of power buyers, if that would be a good way to put it, where they'll come on and say something to the effect of, we're looking for slabs that are PSA 8 or higher or something like that. Baseball, basketball, whatever they're looking for. And if you have 40 cards that match that criteria, they'll make you an offer on them. So it's just like you're hearing. I like your analogy to the cold card show experience, because you hear a lot of card shows now where dealers are setting up tables and they'll say some like repacker came and bought my whole table. Yeah. Right. We're seeing similar stories right now on MyCardPost.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the fee thing real quick, and I hope now's the best time to do it. But I had noticed on the Facebook group, I think Sports Cards Nonsense the other day. Hey Troy, if you want to, well, actually, I can throw it up. I think there was a post that I actually saw MyCardPost mentioned on it, and oh, okay, there we go. I screwed it all up, Troy.
Hold on. Oh, there you go.
Okay. I had seen MyCardPost mentioned in the comments to it, and basically somebody had posted to the Facebook group that they're frustrated by, I think eBay fees, and most selling platforms have transaction fees that are based on, you don't pay anything up front, but when your card sells, you either pay like a buyer or seller's premium, or there's a buyer premium paid, or there's like a transaction fee in the case of eBay. And I think in this case, somebody had a order total where the card purchaser paid $647.50, and the seller walks away with $518.81. So that's something like $120 in fees, something to that extent, or and they were expressing frustration over that. And then I saw even at some point people were mentioning MyCardPost. Now you don't have to, you pay the subscription up front, but then you don't pay the fees. And then you had chimed in. So what made you think that this is kind of a great scenario that illustrates why, the value proposition of your platform?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got tagged. I actually commented on this one because I was getting tagged in it. Honestly, again, this goes back to the origination of the idea, because I was experiencing this as well. Whether I was buying or trying to sell, the delta between the buyer and the seller was just too large. And, again, if you sell a card for $100, you're only going to get $83, $84, maybe $85. And it's hard to make any profits on that, especially if you're buying on eBay as an example. So if I buy that card for 100, I got to pay $125 for it. And then, as a seller, just the difference, you can't be buying cards paying $120 when it's a $100 comp and then try to resell it for 100 at the latest comp. You just lost $50. The delta between the buyer and seller is just too high. So I really felt like it needed to be a marketplace that just closed that gap. And again, it goes back to the subscription model, because again, it's just a small fixed monthly subscription as low as $9 a month. And you can have like up to 50 cards listed on MyCardPost that you can that you could sell or trade. And there are no fees beyond that other than PayPal fees when cash is exchanged. So PayPal is the payment processor. So there's the standard PayPal goods and services fees. But if you do a cards for card trade, 0 fees are tacked onto the deal. And so when you sell a card, you're essentially getting 97.5% of the profits because, there's just that little PayPal fee at the end. So I just really so when you're buying a card on MyCardPost, you're paying the $100 that it's listed for, and the seller's getting $97.50. So really closing that gap, I felt, allowed people to buy and sell and, be able, and we see it all the time. Cards are being bought on MyCardPost, and then within a week when they receive them, they're being relisted, so people are able to really kind of build their business. And then the multi-card deals, right? You can go on someone's page and buy 50 cards, and that seller's not experiencing, a massive fee deduction at the end. You're able to get really fantastic deals. And again, it just goes back to that's how the subscription model really played into, the idea here.
Must make you feel good when you see people that are mentioning your product in response to somebody's frustration like that you're doing something right, even like you said, even if you're, whether you're having a good day or a bad day or up or down, whatever it might be, that kind of puts juice in your batteries and validates what you've set out to do.
Yeah, it's really cool when you just have some sort of organic tagging and some sort of viral, like that particular post was kind of going viral on the Sports Card Nonsense page. And, to see that you're tagged in it, it is pretty cool. And I see it on like TikTok and Instagram. I mean, oftentimes we can be tagged in some other stuff. These types of posts are very common, right? People start complaining about the fees. And it is very validating to, kind of get tagged in these posts as the potential answer to the problem.
One of the things too that I think is really interesting about your journey is, and I kind of put it to you before we started recording, as I was thinking about you over the last day or so, is in some ways I kind of see your story as a little bit of analogous to David and Goliath a little bit, where if you think about like most other marketplaces are pretty huge companies that have a lot of money to spend, whether you're mainstays like the Golden Auctions of the world, or you're a newer company like Arena Club and you got Derek Jeter money to throw around and come from deep pockets, whereas we've got to know you over the past year plus now, you're just a kind of a guy like us who has a vision and a entrepreneurial dream and are funding this. What's been the challenges that you've really had to, or how's that been challenging, I guess, to have to go up against these real big companies?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm definitely at a disadvantage, right? Because I don't have millions of dollars behind me.
I was gonna say, what's eBay's market cap compared to MCP?
Certainly, if you have big financial backings, whether it's professional athletes or just institutional investors, whatever it may be, you can grow much faster. And it'd be nice. I mean, there's definitely days where, man, I wish I just had hundreds of thousands of dollars that I could just throw at paid ads or content creators and sponsorship deals, but I don't, right? Like I said, I'm just Mark. I'm just a guy who built something that I thought was cool for me, and I hoped others would feel the same way. I definitely underestimated, for sure. Looking back now, 20 months in, I definitely underestimated how expensive it is to build a business, and how the path to profitability is hard, and it can be far out in the future, right? That's where we're at. I mean, it's
well, it's software too, and so every little change you make or every idea someone has or bug you fix, right, that is more money that you're putting into the platform, and I would assume that all of that adds up. But is there maybe an advantage in some way though, like where you're right, they can outspend you pretty easily, I assume. But do you feel like that you can be more like nimble though? Maybe.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, definitely can. I definitely can. Actually, we're just having a conversation with another local card shop, Morrison Trading Post, the other day, and talking about this exact thing, which is, how quickly we can go from just having a conversation or an idea, or having a user send me, some sort of feedback over Instagram Messenger about like, hey, it'd be cool if this button was green, or hey, it'd be cool if you had this kind of capability, and then within like a couple of days, we can have it. And, the users are just blown away. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we were just talking about this. And here I am a few days later or a few weeks later, seeing that come to life. So certainly we can be very nimble. We can test and fail and, maybe put out things that aren't like super fully baked, where we're just like, hey, let's just put this out there, kind of a minimum viable version of it, see if it has any legs to it or just get sticky with the members. And then we can enhance it from there. And, there's many areas of the product which we've done that and we continue to do so. So that part is definitely an advantage to us. Really it's just a matter of, it is David versus Goliath in a lot of ways. But I still kind of feel like it's not like the, if you build it, they will come type thing. Cause that's not the case. I mean, you got to put yourself out there. You got to put yourself in front of people who are not aware of your platform. It's, it's a crowded world out there. It's a crowded hobby with a lot of different businesses and products. And so it can be hard to stand out when you can't, just kind of outspend the competition, if you will.
I really agree with the whole crowded nature, and there's so many options. And I don't know if like our brains work well enough to juggle it's like we pick like our 1, 2, or 3 comfort areas, and that's where we seem to dig in. And then now it's not just like the Goldens of the world and their Netflix shows or Jeter Money or all this other stuff. Now you got Walmart trying to get into the marketplace game. You have GameStop,
Yeah.
right? Which in some ways is good because it validates the marketplace, right?
Well,
and the industry, but it's like we're almost like we're trying. I don't know if this makes sense to you too, like where we're at with subscription TV. It's like we're all at the point where we have like 17 subscriptions, and at some point it just doesn't make sense anymore. It's like there needs to be like convergence, or the winners need to be picked, that sort of thing. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there's a couple points there. I think, certainly Fanatics another one, right? I mean, it's just definitely validating that this space, this niche, which is the hobby, is very profitable, and there's a lot of room for innovation, which is, one of the things I tried to do here was just innovate. I'm kind of in an island of one, right? I'm basically the first and only subscription-based trading card marketplace, if you will, right? Every other marketplace is fee-based. So I'm kind of sitting over here as an outlier, kind of doing things differently, and hoping that people will be attracted to that model for the the value and the benefits that it offers. But that's also one of the biggest objections we get too, is like these guys, eBay has hundreds of millions of users and MyCardPost has less than 10,000, right? So it's like that's a fact. I can't change that. They have a 35-year head start on me. I'm 20 months in, so those are true statements. But what's the old, it's like Rome wasn't built in a day, right? We can't build this in a day. We can't grow this overnight. Like this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And, I hope 3, 5, 10, 15 years from now, MyCardPost is a mainstay in the hobby. And, these early days, these early struggles that I'm experiencing now, the doubt, will be a thing of the past. And I'll be able to look back and think like, man, I was crazy to think that, times were tough or whatever.
Well, I don't know anything, but when I digest what you just said, what hits me about that in relation to MyCardPost is there's Me Too companies. It's kind of like we talked about like Walmart the other day on our show. Not that they couldn't have a big and successful hobby marketplace, but the way they're executing is it seems like very like Me Too. Like, oh, we already have this other marketplace. We're just going to say sports cards welcome, and not really. It's like they're trying to shoehorn the hobby into what their strategy is versus like what I think you've done is, actually really put a lot of thought and tried to solve a problem. And there's an intention to your platform, and it is different. It is unique. It's not the same version with the different brand on it that we see everywhere else. And so, I would think that, that you can lean into that a little bit. And when you're kind of competing with other people, is that, you do have something unique to offer to the marketplace. And then it's just a matter of, does the market at large respond to that? And do they value it the same way that you think they do? And what we've seen, and I'm a testimonial to that, is that I think it's pretty awesome. And, I think we're hearing a lot of people kind of echo the same.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it was intentional. I think I definitely put a lot of thought into this, right? I didn't just like wake up one day and think, I'm just going to build this and start building. I didn't. I kind of sat on the idea for a while, just kept iterating on thinking about all the different things about the hobby that didn't exist in an online marketplace. And, I kind of had to build some of these workflows from scratch. There wasn't like something I could just copy, like, oh, I could just make something similar to that. They already figured it out. I had to kind of just like figure it out myself, my own way, with my own kind of thoughts about how things had to look, how to work, and there was a lot of like iteration to get it right. And to that point, I mean, that's again, some of the best feedback I get are people are just like so amazed at some of the capabilities, and like they can't believe other marketplaces have offered these types of options, like these multi-card cash offers or sell your cards type workflows and things of that nature. Because I think MyCardPost was built, entirely specifically for the trading card market and the types of deals that people are doing. So
when I think about though MCP and my own experience with it, one of my biggest frustrations, which definitely occurs on your platform, but also every other fixed marketplace. And I say this with the caveat that you pointed out to me, I think 2 days ago, that I'm guilty of this myself, and I'll explain that in a second, is sort of the issue of people when, in an auction, the price is settled by whatever at the hammer, whatever the last bid is at the hammer. On a fixed price marketplace, you throw whatever price essentially you want out for that card, of course. And in a lot of cases, the prices are not, I would say, firmly based in reality and are very aspirational. Is that a good way to put it? Like, yeah, this card typically sells for $100 and you think like $1,200 is what you list your card for. And where I say this happens to us is that, so back in December, because I think that there's two circumstances where this happens. And so there's the one that we're guilty of, and particularly me, and then I'll get into other people. Back in December, we had hit out of some EPAC product before there was really any live Connor Bedard rookie cards, a rookie debut numbered out of 99. And we had no idea at the time, like we had sold the Connor Bedard for way under market value in MyCardPost too. Again, our fault because we listed it under. And then this one, we're like, I don't know what this is worth. They're all going for thousands. So we threw up $1,500. Totally forgot about it. And then a couple of days ago now, you had messaged me and you're like, and you sent me a screenshot of a comp of the same card that sold for like, I don't know, like 300, something like that. You're like, bro, your $1,500 listing is the recent comps are 300. You might want to fix that. So you must have been doing a little bit of market policing. And so went in right away and fixed it because I, like I said, hadn't thought about it. And so in a fixed price marketplace, the market changes constantly. And if you have 500 cards listed on MyCardPost, it's very hard or time consuming to keep those up to date. And then I think there's people that, I don't know what it is, Mark, if it's, or Troy, if it's greed, if it's not wanting to lose, aversion to losing money on cards, where they just list their card that sells for 200 for 600. And so I think that's a challenge because, like I said, you see it on it seems like fixed price marketplace. So, do you see that as a big challenge? And what can you do to fix that? Because I have no idea.
Well, I'm glad you have no idea because, it's a problem for sure. I would say, again, all marketplaces. I mean, this is on eBay. Every single marketplace. There's always going to be overpriced listings. To your point, I think, it's multifaceted. There's no like one right answer here. I do it too, right? I mean, sometimes, if you listed a card, again, you listed it like 9 months ago, you thought maybe it was $1,500, and then the market, slowly corrected it over time, and then it becomes out of date. There's other times where, and I do this as well, where I might put a card on MyCardPost, but it's kind of at like, and this is one thing that Jeremy Lee said, is like, this is like my not for sale price, but if someone's willing to pay it because it's mainly a PC card for me, then then I'll consider selling it. So some of those listings are intentionally set high, if you will. But I think if you're someone who's really looking to move inventory and to attract buyers, and specifically on MyCardPost with Mascot, and how that you can kind of manipulate your list pricings by certain percentages up or down. If you have a card listed, and you don't have to do this, it's just, kind of a best practice if you want to attract more buyers, but you can automatically list your card for $100 on eBay, and then just have Mascot automatically adjust it 10, 12, 15% lower on MyCardPost, knowing that there's not going to be that fee taken at the end. So, you can pass along some of the savings to the buyer and attract more people. But, just the general overall, overpricing thing, I don't know. It's kind of like the pandemic. I'm not really sure if there's a good answer to solve it.
Well, I had one idea based on you informing me that I had ridiculously overpriced my car at the time. I still don't think it was, but now it definitely was. And because I was thinking about how unintentional that was. And I think I realized for myself, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but when I go onto any marketplace and I see that somebody has listed a card that's way over recent comps, I think to this point, the cynical side of me has taken over and been like, this person's ridiculous. They're delusional. Where I just assume that like they're intentionally trying to do 2-3x what it is. And, because you can so easily message people on MCP, I guess I think what I'm going to try going forward is reaching out to that person and saying, hey, I'm really interested in this card, but here's like 3 sales that are like way less recent. So is this really what you're looking for? Or would you be open to an offer that is more based on or closer to these recent comps that I found? And then maybe sometimes people will just be like, I don't care if it sells for $100, I want $600. And there's nothing you can do in that case. But then maybe there'll be people like me. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that sells for that price. Sure. And at the end of the day, if the goal is to get the card at the price you want, maybe that's the good approach to take.
Yeah, I think actually making me think of something that's missing on MyCardPost, and we probably need to fix this, is maybe to even have just like a listing date, because to your point, you listed that Connor Bedard like 9-10 months ago. If someone saw that it's $1,500, but the listing date was 9-12 months ago, they might just be, okay, well, maybe, let me just see if Josh is open to like a more current comp realistic price on this card. And hopefully you would be. But one of the other things I do, or I've done, and I would recommend others to do, is, again, it is a fixed price marketplace, and to kind of put that out there. So on my page in the description, I say like, hey, there may be cards that, I don't know exactly what I say, but it's something about like, I'm not able to kind of keep up with current comps on these cards, and by no means, don't send me an offer. Like, send me offers. I'm totally open and willing to negotiate. And if I have it listed for 300 and you tell me it's 120 and it's kind of the offer you're making, then great, I'll accept. No problem. So I think just to your point, being able to message people, but also being transparent that, hey, look, I'm not perfect. My cards, may be out of whack, but send me offers. I'm a reasonable person and happy to negotiate. And that kind of helps. Take the walls down from buyers from even entertaining that.
Well, I found it embarrassing, actually, when you pointed that out, because I was like, oh my gosh, I had no clue that, like I said, out of sight, out of mind, right? You don't think about it. You get a couple hundred listings and it tends to get buried, especially because I think our like default setting is by most recent. So it was so buried in the thing that it just never saw it. I don't know, Trey, have you noticed the same? Like when you go and are looking for, I think you run into this a lot too, because like you don't collect like super high end guys, but like Pekkas, right? You kind of know now what a Pekka auto is worth. And then if they typically sell for like 30, 40, $50 and someone has listed for 300,
I always
your
message them.
You do?
Like,
Okay.
it's my default because I'm just like, hey, I saw you had this card. I'm interested in it. You know, comps are around this, and if it's something I want, I will offer at the higher end. Like I'll say, here's the sales. I'll even go over it if I really want it. I mean, I won't go extraordinary to like 10x or something, but most of the time I will. But I will message them. That's just kind of a default I've done, and I'll say it's a lot easier to do that online than it is in person because some people don't like just the whole negotiating bit, and you can negotiate a little bit easier online. So I don't see why anyone wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
What's been your
Especially if,
success rate in that? Like people typically.
Oh, I bet it's about 30 to 45%, somewhere in there.
Not bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
Yeah, if the card's rare, I mean, you're willing to make strong offers, like to get the deals done. I think it's maybe more like the common cards, and there could be a lot of like parallels and high serial numbers, and so that's where when you're seeing 4, 5, 7 comps of a card in a certain range, but one person is way above that. Hopefully they just don't know. But
okay, if we were living I Dream of Genie, and you got one wish of one fix or something that you could get to help you grow your business, what would it be?
I know. Mark already knows the answer. Probably the app. Is there an app?
Already have it.
Oh, is there out? Is it out now?
Oh yeah,
it's not out. It's not out.
Wow,
it's on my phone.
I don't have it, so I'm going to download it right now.
We can get it on your phone too if you like. So we're in beta testing. So we have the app. I've been building this app since November of last year. So again, this was to the point before, this was a significant investment on my part too to build this and launch this, because there was others, not just Troy, who have said that the app is one thing that they would love to have, and I agree. It would be, it is a kind of a cool thing to have, but it's taken, it's not an easy thing to build, and it's cost a lot, and we're in a lot of the beta bug fixing phase, if you will. But I don't know if that's the one thing. I think it's a tough question. The easy answer would just be like, I wish I just had like a massive marketing budget, because then I could really make some, significant rapid change. I think.
Do you wish that you got like a 20 minutes to sit down on a couch with everyone in the hobby and just not even convince them, just explain to them what your market, because I think that going back to the noise or the so many options, and we're so overwhelmed as human beings with things that are thrown at us on a daily basis that because I've been in situations where, as a marketer for the last 20 years, where I felt like, man, if I could just sit down with everyone and just tell them and get them to listen to me and like put down their phone, and that they would really see the value here. And that's to me the hardest part, is in a world where there's no more attention left, how do you capture that attention?
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, I think to be able to, because it is like you have to be in it and you have to use it, and you have to go through a couple of deal cycles to be like, I totally get it now. I didn't get it before, when I just signed up, or before, or a couple months ago when somebody mentioned it, like I didn't quite get it. But then I created an account, and then I got in here and I started doing some deals, and I started talking to people, and then it's just like, boom. Like I totally understand the value here. Because it's not just about I have to pay a subscription to list my cards. Like that's the most basic thing about the marketplace. It's about what that unlocks for you, which is just like total freedom in a marketplace, and for you to build relationships and to make friends and to do deals with new people, the same people. And, there's just so much more to it. So that would be cool, to be able to just have, some sort of ability to express that light bulb moment that so many of our current members have already experienced.
Okay, so I have a kind of a question for Troy, because I think like we're like an interesting case study, right? Where I somehow just maybe lucked into a couple of deals where I got hooked on the platform, and I'm not going to speak for you, Troy, but I don't think you have anything against MyCardPost or anything, but there's just, you're a man, you coach like 45,000 sports, you have jobs, we do podcasts, and it just hasn't made it into your hobby lexicon yet. And so why do you think not, Troy? Like what do you think in your specific case is Is it just because there's so much limited or
It-
limited space?
No, it's yes, it's that. There's so many different sites out there that it's like that comfort zone. It's like when I first started out, it was like eBay was so comfortable for me, but it's not like I go on MyCardPost. I don't know. I probably go on like once, twice a week. Now, here's my problem. I never sign in. So it's like I always sit there and just go around. Mark, you probably don't have any records of me going in. I promise you, I'm on the site.
Oh, I'm tracking you. Don't worry.
Yeah, I bet. I'm looking at it.
He's watching you while you sleep, Troy. That's a different conversation.
Yeah, and it is one of those things. It's like, it's just, I mean, how many times have I texted you and I've been like, okay, I'm thinking about all these places you can buy cards, and I got like 15 places, and then you're like, well, yeah, there's another 10 here, and I just sometimes my brain just can't remember everything, but I always go out and look because I have found some stuff out there before. There's a lot of people that we know that are on there, like, well, I can say his name, California Dave, our friend. I just looked; he's on MyCardPost, got some bunch of stuff out there, and
Oh yeah,
guys that we see at the shop, shows and stuff. So it is a big platform. I never have done I've never done a trade yet. Trading, I've never done, but I have. Yeah. I know once I get in a trade, I will just go nuts. Probably.
I've even sent Mark Troy Pekka Rinne cards, and then I'll get like a response, like I'll text him the listing, and then I'm like, oh, he'll be like, you're interested in that, and I'm like, no, ding dong, I've sent it for you because you collect Pekka Rinne.
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, Josh, can you make a trade for me for that one?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do all this stuff.
We wouldn't have to do the Troy trade challenge.
No,
right?
It's like, well, I feel like I just need to dedicate time. And like you said, I mean, like we're all busy. Like it's not something new. It's not like I'm the only person that's busy, but
yeah,
but I think that's a microcosm of what any hobby business faces, or not just you, is that because I know, knowing Troy so well, that if that once you do dedicate the time, or you find the time, that you're gonna love it, right? And it's just a matter of how do you.
I don't think I've actually heard any negative feedback from it. I mean, from all the people we talk to in the hobby, everyone I've talked to that uses it loves it. So
yeah,
so I have no reason from that end not to do a bunch.
Well, that's a good point, because actually there's something I was even looking at this earlier today. It's like, people cancel, right? It's a subscription. I mean, we all cancel subscriptions, and sometimes we cancel them when we come back, or
like us too. I mean, we got a Patreon, and hey, sometimes people cancel, and
people cancel. It's okay. It's by no means, and I kind of built it for that, where your cards don't go away, so you can cancel your subscription if you come back a couple weeks, couple months later. All the work you put into listing your original cards will be there still. They'll come back. They'll reload back into the marketplace so that you can kind of start off from where you were before. But to that point, we send a survey to every single user who cancels their subscription, and we get these responses back on a regular basis. And I was just looking at it today, it's like almost 90% of them say, "I'll be back." Like, will you come back will you give MyCardPost a try again in the future? And they're like, "Yes, absolutely." And so many of them fill it in, be like, "I love MyCardPost. MyCardPost is amazing. I just am going to wait a little bit until it gets bigger." And it's, again, totally fair to everyone's point. I think our biggest issue is the barrier of entry for people like yourself, Troy, to like, hey, I'm just used to eBay. It's just kind of the way I've done things. And I don't know if I have the, willingness to go try something new. But like,
the bandwidth, I don't think it's the willingness. It's just the capacity sometimes. And
I was curious too. And do you find people that still think it's like only a subscription? Because you can buy without having to subscribe. Like, I can not subscribe and go buy to my heart's content
all day. Yeah, you can buy multi-cards, you can do all that stuff. It is a good point. Probably there are people that feel that that they don't realize that they can join for free, and I try to do the best I can to market that, like create your free account, because I mean that's one easy way to just get some experience with the platform and the workflows and how things work there. But the other thing too, we did the mascot thing was a big element of helping people kind of come over, because I think I may have said this on your show before in the past. Like, if somebody has thousands of listings on eBay, there's no way in hell they're going to manually go relist those on MyCardPost. Like, and I realized that very early on. And
you can't manage it too. So if one sells on one platform, then you have to remember to go to the other platform and delist it, which never happens.
Exactly. So with Mascot, that was a really, like, you create your account and you just ingest every single one of your eBay listings. And then with the click of a button, you can now push them all to MyCardPost and list thousands of cards in just a few minutes.
Well,
So
I'll jump in. Well, I'll just say I was going to jump in one too. Just when the listing thing, I have listed cards on MyCardPost. It took me literally, I think, a minute to put a card out there. It's
yeah,
simple.
it was simple and fast, but
it's super simple and fast, and it's not like I have to go through all these different menus and like eBay will drive you nuts, ComC will drive you nuts, all those other ones will just drive you insane. I'll give you kudos. I mean, I loved listing cards on MyCardPost. It was simple. Picture, boom, boom, couple what is it, radio buttons or whatever, and a couple freeform boxes. I'm in.
yep. And now, I mean, even with Mascot now too, I mean, literally just type in a serial number and it just pulls the data in. And at that point, you're just kind of maybe making a couple tweaks, adding your pricing, and then pushing it. But for those people who are discovering MyCardPost for the first time and they've been on eBay for years, now they can just kind of just replicate and then have that automatic removal of listings if they're sold or traded on any one of the platforms. So that's been a pretty big game changer for us.
What have you learned about people that are successful on MyCardPost versus people that are not?
Yeah, great question. So it is pretty easy to be successful, and I think there's just a couple of key things. One is just present yourself really well, like fully create your profile, have a profile picture, have all your social media links, have all your other marketplace profiles, so that, I mean, if you're brand new, that's going to be one of the things that people are going to want to do. They're going to want to do a little bit of due diligence on you just to make sure you're legitimate. And then as your reputation grows on MyCardPost with like reviews and feedback from others in the community that you've done deals with, then it gets a little bit easier where people are, a little bit more comfortable with you doing deals. So that's one. Definitely have a fully completed profile, present yourself really well. And then the second phase of it, I think, is really around your listings. Like, make sure your listings, like if you're using graded cards, like use the grading company images as one if they're available. If you're using Mascot, they kind of take care of that for you because you're just typing in your serial numbers and pulling them. But if you're taking pictures, you definitely want to like make sure they look good, they're well cropped, that you're filling out the full listing screen, and and pricing. I mean, I hate to harp on it again, but you don't want to have a very quick reputation of just being like way overpriced. So if you're pricing your cards fairly and you're doing all these other things and you're engaging with others in the community, making offers on their cards and vice versa, you will be on a very rapid, successful trajectory on the platform for sure. And we've seen.
And I want to echo something about pricing that we may have mentioned already, but I think is really unique about MyCardPost. And what I've noticed too is I don't know if like people's like can wrap their heads around it even, or if like greed takes over in some cases. Like there's a way on this platform to price your cards where you would make more money than you would selling it on eBay, and the buyer would pay less.
Yep.
So really a win-win for you. Win because you get more than you were going to get, and a win for the buyer. And then the net effect is all this large amount of transaction fees effectively stays in the pockets of the hobby, right? In collectors' pockets that can be used to buy and fund more cards instead of sort of evaporating in the world of transaction fees.
Yep. Yeah. And we're tracking fee savings, by the way. And our community, in 20 months, we're almost at $100,000 in fee savings, which is just incredible. And to your point, I mean, people do this on eBay as well. I mean, there's these like large volume consignment sellers or whatever they may be, and they've trained, they have their cars listed on eBay, but the buyers, repeat buyers of that seller's car, have been trained to go directly to the marketplace, because they're cheaper. And the same thing for MyCardPost. You can have your cards everywhere, but if you slowly train your buyers that, hey, you can save a bunch of money buying this card on MyCardPost, like that shift, it will happen over time where, someone will be like, oh, I see, they may see the card first on eBay, but then, know like, oh, I know this seller's on MyCardPost, so let me go over there, and boom, maybe a 15% savings right off the top.
Yeah, and you're not hush-hushed, or you don't have the eBay long arm of the law threatening you that if they ever find out, they're going to take you off the platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have instances where like somebody will cancel and then you'll look at their cards and they were all overpriced and they cancel because they didn't sell anything?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean,
Is that
again,
frustrating? Like, I think that would frustrate the heck out of me.
It is frustrating. Well, I mean, it is frustrating because, you feel like there was an opportunity for them to have a better experience. But I would say it's probably one of the things I have the least amount of control over is like their initial experience. And we'll see the opposite of that. Like somebody may come in and be like, hey, I listed hundreds of cards and I didn't sell anything in 2 weeks. I want to cancel and I want my money back. No problem. Happy to give you your money back. Sorry, I didn't have a good experience. And, you do go back and you see like, well, that was a $40 card that you had listed for $400. So, there's a reason why buyers just kind of passed by because they're just like, I'm not even going to waste my time making an offer. There's the other side of it too, where they join, they list one card, it doesn't sell. And, and it could be the same situation where it's overpriced or whatever it may be.
Like their 1989 Topps Will Clark.
Yeah. Right. Or if it's some sort of just like very common card or
sure.
Like a base raw card that's in very poor condition, whatever it may be.
Troy's Hundo P collection.
I think that's like one of the things I think about the most. And it's probably one of the hardest things for me to figure out how to solve. I definitely have done some things, is really to ensure, because one of the best things I can do for the community is to ensure that the new members can have a quick win or some sort of early good experience on the platform. Because again, like we were talking about before, you want them to have that like light bulb moment and to be able to see a transaction in full cycle. Like, wow, that person paid $100 and I got $97.50. Like I'm not used to that, right? So you want to kind of experience that. So one of the things that I've done, and I just did this like in the last couple of months, is I basically launched my own local card shop, if you will, on MyCardPost, like my own hobby shop that is virtual, right? I don't have a brick and mortar store, but I've essentially, kind of been building up slowly. It's not very large, but slowly I have a few hundred listings, but slowly building up a hobby shop where I am intentionally recycling within the community. So I'm listing the cards, I'm selling them, I'm using the proceeds of those cards to buy more cards from people in the community, whether they're raw and I'm getting them graded or whatever, just buying in bulk and getting a good deal that I can relist them and hopefully make a little bit more. And just to continue to kind of recycle that money back into the MCP community. And I feel like that could be one really good way. And the other local card shops that have joined MyCardPost have been amazing. They're doing the similar types of things, but I think more and more of us that are, kind of building our businesses within the community and within the platform, that can really help a lot of these new members who are coming on get that early win, and they'll stay, and it'll just have this like cascading growth effect. And so that was one of the kind of key ideas I had and reasons for kind of launching that separate hobby shop account.
Well, going back to when I very first learned about your business, just being curious, I was wondering like kind of like what your own entrepreneurial motivation is, right? Because you look at like, well, if there's a 14% fee on eBay and on it's on $1,000 card, eBay is going to collect $140, where ostensibly in a $9 subscription, you could, that's what Mark would make on that sale. And so there is like this like hardcore sort of economic perspective of like you're leaving money on the table, right? And so my kind of long-winded question is, what's your motivation in this? What do you hope to? You're doing all the work, the blood, sweat, and tears. You're pouring your own money into it, and when you reach your vision, what's kind of your ideal scenario for kind of how this benefits you?
I don't think about me. I don't think I'm doing a lot of this for me. I mean, it's not like I'm leaving any money on the table. I don't take any of the money. I take every dollar that MyCardPost makes and I roll it right back into the business, whether it's marketing, new features, whatever it may be. So, I think I just want to be known for like just building something unique and different and like fighting the fight, like being here, going against, massive corporations. Like most people probably think I'm insane for doing this. And maybe I am, but I don't know. I just want to be someone that just does something good in the world and like kind of build something for the right reasons. There's no selfish motivations here. There's no like get rich quick type, aspects to building this business. Mm-hmm. I just really wanted to build something that maybe gives me some freedom in the future, right? To not have to have a full-time job, right? Because I do have a full-time job. This is a hobby for me, if you will, for the most part, is building this business. So I think my aspirations are to just continue building something, continue to do it for the right reasons, which is to serve everybody in the community. Again, like I said before, I feel a responsibility to continue to improve this thing, to make it the best it can possibly be, and to have all the features, benefits, and capabilities focused on the members. None of this is about me. None of this is about me trying to extract as much profit out of the business. And I think that's one of the worries I have. If I did have like kind of investors or, partnerships in this business, that some of the choices that they may want to make it more profitable would be not in the best interest of the community, like raising subscription prices or something like that. What I just I'm not passionate about that, right? I'm passionate about building something for the right reasons and kind of seeing where it goes on its own.
So we're not going to see you pulling up to the National in a Lambo and a mink coat in July anytime soon? Or?
Not unless someone offered me a ride.
Okay. But I would have called you crazy for that answer. But Troy and I have never literally taken a dime out of this show either. And so it's like, I don't know why. Troy, why do we do this? I have no idea. We just love doing it, I guess. And like, I've never worked harder at making nothing in my entire life. But I don't know, maybe it's you hit the stage of life and you just really start to do things that bring you joy. You prioritize that over money, maybe at that point.
And not to say there won't be money in the future. Like, at some point, if the business can get there and it can, maybe support my family and I could do it full time. Yes, that certainly would be an aspiration of mine. But it's going to be a while.
So as you look back, what's one thing about building this business that was easier than you maybe originally thought it would be?
Oh man, I don't know if anything's been easier than I thought it would be. I think it's the exact opposite. So many of the things that I thought would be easy turned out to be way harder than I anticipated. I wouldn't say this is easier, but I would say, and I probably have said this before in the past too, the one thing I was super surprised about was the lack of negative feedback. And I think I've probably told the story in, the first podcast or two around how nervous I was that first day when I was like, finally, like, enough. Okay, it's good enough. I just need to put this out there. I need to stop tinkering. I need to stop trying to make it better, improve things, change, let me just put this out there, a minimum viable product, a beta version, if you will, and just see what people think. And I literally made that. I had no aspirations that day of publishing this thing. And I just decided I was going to do it that day. But it took me 45 minutes, hovering over that post button on Instagram because I was so nervous that people were just going to trash it and be like, this is dumb. This is a terrible idea. What are you thinking? We don't need more marketplaces. Troy, trash.
No, it's funny you talked about. No, you talked about the button and that song by the Chemical Brothers, Galvanize, where it's like push the button. They're in the background. I can just see that playing as your Mark's hovering over the go live.
You're gonna copyright strike. Don't sing anymore, Troy. Don't sing anymore.
But I was so nervous, right? I'm so nervous to put myself out. I'm a nobody, guys. I'm a nobody. Nobody knew me. Nobody still knows me. I'm a nobody. I'm just a regular dude who's a husband and a father that just had a crazy idea to build something.
We were very similar. There's a lot of parallels where, Troy, remember how nervous we were when we hit upload on that first?
Yeah.
And nobody even listened, but we were terrified of the thought that somebody actually would listen that wasn't my mom or Troy's mom.
Well, yeah, that and I was just dreading the first comment I read that's just like, you suck.
I remember once too where I was trying to find ways to, because we do not just the show, but we do a lot of social content. And I was like, I thought I had this really good piece of information that I had found. And I was like, Troy, I think I'm going to post this to Reddit. And he was like, no. Don't kill us.
It's way too aggressive.
The Reddit hive mind will come after us. It actually went well, I think, when you posted it.
I didn't think go well. I'm like, well, I'm just going to try it. And so, yeah, I mean, you put yourself out there. And I think too, it's very hard, obviously, to start anything and to create anything. But you always know that you tried, win, lose, or draw, I guess. And then the other thing, I was 2 years ago now. And so my kids are getting a little bit older. They're getting kind of adultish age where they need they don't want it, but I give it to them anyways, real kind of life-ish advice. And I heard this thing about parenting that said, as a parent, the number one thing you can teach your kids is that you can do hard things.
Yeah.
and
Not
learning
be
to
afraid to fail.
embrace in life things that are difficult, and not just take the easy way, and that because you get so much satisfaction even trying to
Yeah.
do something really, really hard. And so that's why I have a lot of respect for you. And, I think you're an easy guy to root for, just based on what you're trying to accomplish. And from everything I've known from you from a long time now, it's very sincere that you're really trying to build something that you think will make the hobby a better place.
Yeah. That's my goal. That's if I do anything right, if I can do that right, then I have won in a lot of ways. Yeah.
So you have the benefit of hindsight and starting this, and there might be a couple people listening or watching that have been thinking for a month, 2 months, a year, whatever, of whether it be within the hobby or some other industry, of starting their own business or their own venture. If they asked you for a couple pieces of advice, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, kind of what we were just talking about. Like, don't be afraid of failure. Just move forward. Just start and don't stop. And that's exactly what I did too. I just one day just put one foot down, and the next day and then it just eventually you just are in this momentum phase where you just keep moving forward. And just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. The fear that you're experiencing or that fear that you're afraid of, it's most likely not going to happen. It didn't happen to me. I was so fearful launching this thing, and I've got nothing but positive feedback on it. So I think I try to tell a lot of people that is like, just do it. Just get out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just put out your most basic version of it out there. You can always make it better. But don't be afraid to fail. But if you fail, it's okay. It's fine. And fail fast, and then move on to the next thing. So that would kind of be my main advice.
Well, here's what I really, really appreciate about this conversation, and for whatever platform Troy and I have, where I have a lot of interest in, I guess, conveying or telling stories like yours, where there's so many people, and it's not just within the hobby or hobby businesses, but it's kind of I think, rampant through all social medias, that people sort of try to present this exaggerated, unrealistic version of themselves, right? Where it's like, I thought of a hobby business. I went to bed and I had $1 million in my checking
Yeah.
account the next morning when I woke up, right? That everything's so easy, and I'm so smart, and everything I do is so awesome, and every idea, every card I buy, I make $20,000 on in 3 minutes, and I'm just so awesome and so great. And maybe there are people that are that good at stuff, and that's pretty cool if that's who you are. I just don't think that that's me by any stretch, or anyone else I've ever met in my life. And so for you to come on and, I think, tell your story from an honest perspective, and to say that there's amazing days and there's kind of awful days too, and that's part of the journey at the end of it, that I think that my hope is that it actually convinces more people to try,
Yeah.
so that they know that it's like, oh, that there's not this unrealistic sort of aspirational standard, that if I try and I'm not a billionaire after 3 days, that I give up and fail, or that I failed and I should give up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Has been a hard journey. And, but I've had, many days that were super exciting for whatever reason. We get hundreds of new users in a single day. And like that stuff it's incredible. There's no better feeling than that. But then there's, other days where, maybe you had a couple more users canceled than new users joined. And, those days are hard, and those days kind of keep you up at night. And you're trying to solve a lot of problems, and realize there's so many things I would love to do. There's so many features I'd love to have. There's so many great ideas that the community members have, and I would love to be able to do them all. But the hardest part is probably just kind of like managing priorities and spending. And, it's very easy to get yourself in financial trouble, if you will, by, borrowing money or using credit cards, and, trying to spend future revenue you haven't earned yet. So, you got to be smart. I'm trying to be smart. I've made tons of mistakes. I'm going to make tons more. But yeah, I would love for more people to join, to try, to give it a try. And if you're someone who's already an existing MCP member and you love it, please share it. Let's do this together. Let's build this together. Be out there with your friend groups and your community groups and on Facebook or wherever, and kind of share your positive experience and help bring more people over so that this can be an enjoyable platform for everyone.
Well, funny enough, you've given us a promo code that we can share with people, and we have shared it for a while now. It's Gongshow 30, GONGSHOW 30. It saved 30% off your first 3 months. So basically, it's like a cup of coffee a month. And I'm not going to speak for anyone's money, but I think that's a pretty low risk way to try something new. I don't know, Troy, what do you got for Mark? Anything else? Or you're very independently wealthy, and some people call you a billionaire. What advice do you have for Mark?
He's on mute.
You're on mute, Troy.
There we go. That's about right for the par for the course. Once every show. I think last show I was actually pretty good about not going on mute. We've talked about this all the time. My dogs, the minute I start talking on the podcast and I go into podcast voice, they just start barking and howling. And
you don't like his podcast voice. Like I think he's a different person.
No, they were going nuts. They were going nuts for a lot of the show, so I kept putting myself on mute. But no, I mean, I've been impressed with the site. Obviously, I don't use it as much as Josh, but I will say again, the ease of use of the site is something I've always been impressed with. I don't know how you make it easy to use, but it is. It's simple to use. Listings, like when I was uploading stuff, it's just a minute and I had cards listed. And there is a lot of stuff out there. Obviously, I think I should build out I got some Marvel cards I could probably list out there and get that Marvel section going. So
Trey's a very closet Marvel collector.
I love it. My kids love those cards. I might be the one that buys them. Sure, you're my priority number one. I'm gonna, we're gonna get you be a power user one way.
There we go.
I will not rest until you are a power user.
Well, Mark, best of luck in your journey. We'll look forward to checking back with you at a future date. Thank you for your support of our show as one of our sponsors as well. We greatly appreciate that too. And like I said, you're an easy guy to root for, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
All right. There's a lot to digest there, Troy. What did you think?
Besides getting called out for not using the site that often, which it's my fault. I like the site. I have nothing against it. I just haven't had time to sit down and go through it. But no, it's great to hear his honesty. That's, I think, the one big takeaway I've always had with Mark. I mean, he'll tell you, I thought this would be easy and it was horrible. It was nothing like I expected. I thought this would be hard and it actually worked out pretty well. And I thought, I think my favorite part of that whole interview, he's talking about when he started the site, just how long it took him to hit the go live button. And it's
how terrifying that was.
Yeah, terrifying, and questioning yourself, and you just got to do it, and finally did it. And then here we are.
Well, I hope you understand that. So I kind of called you out purposefully. And what I was trying to do is illustrate the point of that you are I think many other people who...
Yeah, we all have our ways or what we use and our tools.
We all have what you use, and there's so limited time. It gets hard to try something new. And so as a hobby business and trying to build a marketplace where you're competing in a pretty crowded field, that's one of the challenges, is to get people like you over the hump. Right? And get people like you to earnestly try the platform. And but that's kind of the path he's chosen, and I'm glad he's doing it, because I think he is doing something different. And the thing that I appreciate the most, and who knows what'll happen, what the future holds for anyone, but he also brought something unique to it's not just another auction site or something like that. It truly is something different that nobody else has. And so very grateful and thankful for Mark for contributing his journey, or I guess his story, and I wish him the best of luck. Absolutely do. And again, if you want to try it, use our code Gongshow30. Might as well save 30% for 3 months. Okay, time to roll into PWCC. Of course, they're a partner sponsor of our show, and we're grateful to them for their support. So I did hear that I think at the National, they're doing the switch.
Oh,
from PWCC to Fanatics Collect. So when is the National too? Because we're not a couple weeks.
I think it's in 2 weeks. You and I we were kind of talking but I my son has a state baseball. There's no way I could go to it.
Not a lot of hockey there too. It's good probably
Yeah.
for networking, but I kind of want to see hockey cards when I get on an airplane. Important reminder though that the July PWCC Premier Auction is live, ends Thursday, July 18th. Be sure to check out the 3 amazing hockey cards available in this month's premiere. Remember, there's a 1979 OPG Gretzky PSA 8, a 2015 and 16 SP Authentic Connor McDavid Future Watch Auto out of $9.99, BGS 1010, highest graded copy of that card. And then 0506 the Cup, Sidney Crosby Gold RPA out of 87. Which one's got the highest bid so far? It's got to be the Future Watch, right?
Right now, yes, it is the McDavid's Future Watch at $16,000 US.
Mm-hmm. Troy, there's also more than 4,100 cards to choose from in the PWCC fixed price marketplace. Many of them you can make an offer on. There's cards in there from the early 1900s, the very beginning of hockey cards, to Connor Bedard rookies. So really the whole gamut of hockey history is right there and available in the fixed price marketplace. And then finally, like every week, the current PWCC weekly auction is live. You and I have studied it. We've thought deeply, spiritually, maybe even. I don't know. Picked out our favorite vintage and modern cards available for you to bid on this week. And we're going to start with our vintage favorites. Okay. I had to pick this one, Troy. It's a 1969 OPHE Gordie Howe Mr. Hockey with no number. It says on the slab, no number. PSA 9 mint. So I guess this would be like an insert. I think in the 1969 OPHE hockey set, it's called the Mr. Hockey insert. It's a portrait of Howe. It's a white bordered card, but has another sort of left side, right side, top border that, you know what that reminds me of? The lights on like a Hollywood, what is that? Like the
dressing
mirror?
room. Yeah, the dressing room they're in, yeah.
It's got Gordie's name big and bold on the bottom, and then Mr. Hockey kind of on the background by his head there. There's 2 versions of this card, one with a number on the back. It's in the lower left side or right side of the corner of the card. The number of this card is supposed to be number 193. And then there's an error version, which this one is, which has no number. And it's always reflected on if it's graded on the PSA label. One will say with number and the other one says no number. So that's kind of interesting that usually they just mention the error.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, and the PSA labels, they mention that if it's not an error too. Howe has at least 3 cards in the 1969 OPG set. There's the base card, number 61. This card, 193, that either has the numbered version or the no numbered version. And then there's an all-star number 215. What I think makes this a little bit unique or special is there wasn't a lot of variety in collecting back in the day. So it's kind of cool that there was a couple other options like this Mr. Hockey insert. And the PSA 9 pop count for the card is 195. So it's pretty high, actually. With 1 graded higher, there's a single PSA 10. Now, the numbered version, so you think usually like the errored card is more rare. It's the opposite in this case. The numbered version of this card is much more rare. It has a PSA 9 pop of 9. So it's a 195 PSA 9s of the error version and 9 that include the card number. And then there's 1 PSA 10 as well for the one with number. All-time high sale for the PSA 9 no numbers, 336 on March 26th of last year. Most recent sale is $250 last month on June 2nd. Mano, what do you think of this card?
I think it's interesting. I kind of do dig the lights around it. And I like it for the fact that it's just one of the earlier inserts, right? It's just kind of thrown in there. So
does like jersey look airbrushed to you?
It looks like it's a practice jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Like not a game jersey, but I don't know.
Okay, that makes sense. You got a current bid?
$82.
Here we go. All right, you got the next one.
I do. All right, here we go. 1927, Lambert and Butler. The World of Sport Montreal Victorias, number 9, PSA 7 grade, PSA pop 1 of 5, just 1 graded higher.
Who are you bigger fan of, Lambert or Butler?
Oh, man. I'm a Lambert guy. I'm
going to go Butler.
We had a big lawyer in town, Lambert, right? And wasn't Meat Sauce on K-Fan. His dad is Paul, right? Paul Lambert.
Oh yeah, Paul Lambert. Yeah, we had
Something
a Lambert. I think it was Lampert or Lambert Lumberyard. But okay, we're way
Yeah.
off track.
Now we have track. Okay, here we go. So I got to look at again. This is one of those. It's just an odd card. I was like, man, what is this? I got to look at this thing. It's got this crazy Montreal Victorias team on it. I have a coach that's wearing a tie and a sweater and some knickerbockers. Is that what they're called? Knickerbockers? What do they call those?
Yeah, I'll
things?
go with that.
Like Stuart Payne golfing outfit, basically, is what he's wearing. And okay, so here it is. So I kind of read the name. It's here. If you look at the set,
It's a team photo, right?
Yeah, it's a team photo. And so the set itself, it's really, I'm going to read like a full name of this set. 1927 British American Tobacco, Lambert and Butler, Machado, N32 World of Sport set. That's like the huge name now. I named 3 different companies, right? And we'll get into why I said that. And so I had to do some research, and I apologize. I looked at Bobby's book and I didn't find this in there. And then I realized, well, this really isn't from a hockey set. It's a hockey card that's in a multi-sport set. So I did some research. There's a pretty nice site I found, prewarcards.com, had a lot of information. So here we go.
I think I've heard of that site, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. So in 1927, Lambert and Butler Cigarettes distributed a UK set called the World of Sport. Set detailed a variety of different sports around the globe. Parallel set was also created by British American Tobacco. Those cards are the same as the Lambert and Butler issues, but merely have no sponsor name on the back. And I'll show the back for our YouTube people. I'm not really sure where the sponsor name is, but whatever. I didn't take that much of a look at it, but so didn't have that. Additionally, a third sponsor of the set named Machado is known. The Machado cards are listed in the American Card Catalog. Where is this American Card Catalog? As N325. And then I put some all right, I put another bit in here that I don't even understand what I was trying to say. So the cards feature athletes in a variety of sports. The fronts include a black and white image. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that of an athlete or team, but instead of their name printed with it, the name of the sport is merely added at the bottom along with the card number. So if on YouTube, you can see at the bottom of the card says ice hockey, and then number 9 is on the bottom left. Backs of the cards, which I will show for our YouTubers, feature a decorative border with silhouetted images of the various sports that are in the set. The card number is repeated there and also presented as a biography of the athlete/team on the front as well as their name. So this card of the Montreal Victorias, I looked through the whole set checklist. I believe this is the only hockey card in the set.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other notable cards in the set include Bill Tilden and Helen Willis, Josh, your favorites, as well as swimmer Johnny Weissmuller.
Oh, loved him.
And both Tilden and Willis have more than one card in the set. Aviation is also a key sport. It is a key sport. And Charles Lindbergh is pictured on more than one card as well. I'm just going to say, where's Charles Lindbergh from? Minnesota. Thank you.
Minnesota. Did you letter in aviation in high school, Trey?
No, I did not. I did not. I don't think. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so that's the card. We're getting there. So now I had to learn about the Montreal Victorias. So the Montreal Victoria Hockey Club of Montreal, Quebec, was an early men's amateur ice hockey team. Date of origin, no one knows. 1874, 1877, or 1881 are some dates, making it either the first or second organized hockey club after McGill University. The club played at its own rink, the Victoria Skating Rink in Montreal. The club was winners of the Stanley Cup in 1895 and held it until 1899, except for a period in 1896. Now, the club remained amateur, splitting from the ranks of teams turned professional in 1908. The club was the first winner of the Allen Cup and continued to play until 1939, when it folded after its 65th season.
So 1935 was its 65th season. 1939.
Yeah, 1939. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So notable players of the Montreal Victorias, and all of these players are in the Hall of Fame: Blair Russell, Russell Bowie, Mike Grant, and one of the best names ever, Graham Drinkwater.
Graham Drinkwater.
So I looked him up. Looks like a good hockey player. Okay, so there, I'm running out of like saliva in my mouth. My mouth is getting very dry. Card is graded a PSA 7.
You can do it,
And
Troy. I believe in you.
yeah, overall, this card looks in really nice shape. Like if I zoom in here and I'll try to describe it a little. I mean, yeah, there's some centering, but it ain't off that much. And being that this card's from 1927, I call this a win. I mean, there's like an ink or a mark on the bottom right. And man, I just noticed this guy's face for my YouTube viewers. Look at this guy. He looks pained that he had to take this picture. But anyways, the back.
Are they wearing breezers?
Those look like shorts. I mean, they're padded hockey pants, Josh, or breezers, as we call them.
Jorts.
Yeah, jorts. Besides the head coach, I'm having problems, who has the golf outfit on. So now on the back,
some guys got like leather breezers on too. You see that?
Oh yeah. Well, all their pads were leather. I mean, these gloves, the goalie stuff, they're all leather. Okay, back of card, a lot more issues there. You can see like there's staining, there's some color fading, something. I don't know if this is part of the, like there's a guy shooting a gun, like probably duck hunting or something, or pigeon, or what was it, trap shooting? There's some marks around there.
That's Kaprizov. He's grizzly bear.
From Russia, but there's definitely some more issues on the back. But again, I've always stated I don't care about the back really, because I'm not going to look at that. I like the front. So there you go. It's PSA 7. I couldn't find any sales of a PSA 7 copy of this card in the last 4 years. I mean, I found one from so long ago. It was like $12. However, the PSA copy of this card sold on July 30th, 2023 via eBay verified in Terapeak for $160 US. And that PSA 8 is the one graded copy higher. That was it. Current bid on this card, $36 US.
I could see you owning a card like this.
I love this card. This is fantastic.
It's not. Well, it shouldn't be that expensive either, right?
No,
like $140.
No, it shouldn't go for much at all. I mean, maybe below 200, I would guess.
Mm-hmm. The last quote unquote vintage card is a 1990 OPG Premier Jaromir Jagr rookie auto with the PSA 10 auto 10 grade. Once again, stretching Troy 1990 card into vintage, but I thought it was cool and wanted to talk about it. So 1990 OPG Premier Jagr rookies are not, super uncommon.
Nope.
With the PSA 10 pop of 3,707. But ones that have Jagr's auto and then the double gem mint grade for both card and auto, you'd think would be much more rare. And they are. The population count drops from 3,707 to 42. One thing, though, that I found confusing when I was looking at the pop reports, and maybe someone can point this out to us, is when you look up the cert number and you go to the PSA DNA tab, there is no delineation between auto grade and card grade. I think it just gives the card grade. So of the 42, I guess my assumption, Troy, is that there could be some PSA 10 graded cards with an auto that's not graded included in that pop count as well.
Yeah.
I'm just not really sure how that works. Regardless, of course, a lot smaller pop count than 3,700.
Yeah.
We've discussed our opinions on in-person autos before, but does it make a difference to you, Troy, if it's on a card like this where at the time there really wasn't a pack-pulled rookie auto option? It's like, to me, there's a difference between a Austin Matthews Young Guns that's been signed in person and this one. I don't know, it might just be me, but what do you think?
I don't know. I'm like pack pulled all the way. I'm pack pulled auto gang, I guess. I'm not a big IP auto guy on cards. But with this, I mean, if I'm PC and Jagr and I want to autograph on his rookie card, this is the only way you can do it. So yeah. I'd be fine with it, but I prefer pack pulled over in person.
Mm-hmm. One thing that says going for it is a nice bright blue ink auto. And so it stands out. Like a lot of times issues I have with in-person autos are they like if this is a black marker or they are hidden in the background too much and the autograph isn't as noticeable.
Well, you have to be like our friend Neil, who has got it down to a science. He's got all the marker colors. He knows which ones go on which cards and they'll look the best. And I love it. I love when he was explaining that whole process.
He does an awesome job with that. Yeah, he does it
awesome
100% the right way. Now, getting back to the 42 pop count, the one thing you can say is, of course, there are 3,700 PSA 10s. Someone could crack, and I don't know how much Yager signs at this point. And I'm not saying that it'll go from a pop of 42 to 4,000, but I wouldn't buy it based on the pop count only being 42. That you would assume more of these will get signed in the future,
Yeah.
and that the pop count could increase on this card.
I'm not sure what his thoughts are on signing cards, but he does. You go to his Instagram. He's got a fantastic Instagram. He's signing. He's always signing stuff. Like the fans, like he's in Czechoslovakia, or sorry, that's not a country anymore. In Slovakia, right? Is that what it's technically, or slow? Oh boy.
Well, it was broken down into three. It's
Yeah,
like Czechia, Slovakia, and
I don't even want to begin to try to. And we've had listeners explain it to us
repeatedly,
repeatedly, we
hundreds
still
of
can't
times,
get it.
and we're such enormous blockheads. We don't ever learn.
And so, but he has videos of himself walking around the streets and just getting people mob him, and he's signing, trying to sign stuff, giving the wave. So he does sign stuff.
Well, all-time high sale for 1990 OPC Premier Jaromir Jagr in-person auto PSA 10 Auto 10 was $2,026 in March of 2023, so a little over a year ago. Last sale, though, was $430 in March of this year, so holy cow. Went down quite a bit in a year. I don't know. To me, around $400, not a terrible price for a card like this.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, can we also please get Jagr into the Hall of Fame? Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully.
Get a current bid.
Current bid $320. He's got to stop
That's pretty
playing.
strong.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to switch over to modern. I couldn't pass this one up, Troy. It's a 2012.
These are awesome.
Fleer Retro electrifying Wayne Gretzky. Card number 4, PSA 10 Gem Mint. I love this card so much. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, does my son really need to go to college next month? Gap year, right? Kids do that.
Yeah, kids do that.
I do want this card bad, but I'm going to pull myself together. We're hockey hobby reporters, Troy. Very serious work we do here. The electrifying insert is from the 2012 Fleer Retro set. Easily my all-time favorite hockey card set. There's 20 players on the electrifying checklist. It is a mix of legends and what were current stars in 2012. Gretzky, as you'd expect, is the biggest name on the checklist. He pretty much owns any checklist he's on, which sort of goes without saying. The electrifying insert has its roots from the 1998 Fleer basketball set. Like in the case of many of these sort of iconic hockey inserts, they have G. McLeod. Right, here we go.
Yep.
And who still works at Upper Deck now, so that's kind of cool. Michael Jordan PSA 10 is sold for as much as $10,000. One thing that's also kind of really neat about this, and I want to have a little bit of a discussion with you about, is I did 5 minutes worth of research. I'm pretty sure that 2012 Fleer Retro is the only time electrifying has appeared in a hockey set. How very un-Upper Deckian, right? I mean, usually cards like this, they sort of run into the ground and do them repeatedly, which I think makes this pretty awesome. And there's a part of me that hopes they never do it again. As cool as it would be to have a Kaprizov electrifying card in my PC.
Well, I just as you said that, I went to Card Ladder and just typed in electrifying hockey, and man, it's all 2012-13. So this must be the only year.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you've never seen an electrifying card and you're listening, there's lots of color. The colors really pop. It's like a foil. It's a gold sort of background. Then it has the player. It has sort of like, I don't know, like energy kind of like 80s hairband sort of fonts on the card. Like you'd see on a Metallica poster or something like that. And then a puck with basically bolts of lightning coming out. And what's kind of unique about these cards too, that I hadn't noticed at first, but I definitely kind of picked up on this a few months ago, is as a design choice, the designer put the bolts of lightning on a layer on top of the player. So usually like that would be in the background, right? And the player would be sitting on top of that. Do you get where I'm going there? That usually those effects don't go on top of the player.
Yeah.
If you think of the design elements as layers, which I think makes the card kind of cool. Gretzky's in an LA Kings uniform on this card. And Troy, the PSA 10 pop count is 20 PSA 10s Only 27 graded, so very high gem rate, but not a card that had a very big print run. So you're a fan of Electrifying too?
Oh yeah, I love these cards. I think they look so awesome. Like I've seen these at shows, and they always draw my attention.
All-time high sale for 2012 Fleer Retro Wayne Gretzky Electrifying PSA 10 was $810 in April 2023. Most recent sales $649 on this past April 23rd. You got a current bid?
$125.
Hey, you got the next one.
I do. Here we go. Because we never talk about him on the show, so I figured he's getting his one shot of us talking about him. 2010 Upper Deck exclusives, Young Guns, Nazem Kadri. So obviously it's exclusives out of 100. It's a BGS 9. So go BGS, I guess. We're gonna show some BGS love. Again, I thought it was an interesting card. For some reason, this design escaped me. I didn't really remember seeing this design. I kind of dig it. I'm not sure I like the big UD exclusives over the player, but I kind of like how this looks with the gold.
Well, who are the other big rookies in 2010?
Oh, don't ask me. Or 2010. I said 2009, I think.
Is it like Stamkos, or was he 2009?
Oh, that might have been Stamkos. I think is Taylor Hall. Was he 10?
Maybe.
Yeah, here I got it. It's Jeff Skinner, Taylor Hall, Marchand, Stepan, Tyler Enos, Eberle. Yeah.
Okay.
PK Subban, not Supan, like I like to say. Okay.
One thing I think Kadri has actually been talked about a little bit in hockey circles lately, because he currently plays for the Flames, and they're in like total tank mode. They're going to be terrible. And so I think there's a lot of thought out there about Kadri he should get traded, right? It's not going to help much a horrible team.
Yeah.
And he would be like a pretty good second line center or something like that, or maybe third line on a great team. So I've heard a lot of conversation around that.
Sorry, I lost my spot. Okay, BGS 9. It's got obviously the subgrades. Centering 10, corners 9, edges 9, surface 9.5. And when you look at the card itself, man, and zoom in, I don't know. It looks really good to me. Like the centering's a 10. Now the bottom left, there might be a little bit of a corner whitening. But besides that, man, I don't know where the surface issues are. At least I can't see them through the holder and the penny sleeve or whatever Beckett does with these things. And then I was looking at the back too, just maybe that's where the edge stuff is, because there's a little whitening on the tops, bottoms, sides. So I'm guessing that's where the edge stuff comes in. But again, looks really, really nice, like really good copy of an exclusives. And I really dig this design. So a little bit about Kadri. Obviously, Josh said he plays for Calgary right now, but he was drafted 7th overall in the 2009 NHL entry draft by Toronto. Played 903 games over 15 seasons. Played his first 10 seasons with Toronto. Next 3 with Colorado. Last 2 with Calgary. For his career, 272 goals, 371 assists for 643 points. In his last 3 seasons, he has scored 24 or more goals. I had no clue. I didn't know he was a 20-plus goal scorer the last 3 years. And he's a one-time cup winner. So good for him. Fun fact about that, he was the first Muslim player to win a Stanley Cup. I did not know that.
Do you remember the crap that
I read about it? Yep.
In St. Louis? Yeah. That was really sad.
Yeah, supposedly St. Louis is going to say he ran into Binnington on purpose. And then afterward, he was the one, right, giving the interview when Binnington threw the water bottle.
Yeah.
Was that him? I think that was him. And then that's when it just blew up, and the stupid stuff people sent him and the death threats, and the police had to get involved. Just ridiculous. Yeah. Don't be like that. There. BGS 9 pop of this card is 17. Last sale of a BGS 9 copy was for $53 on March 20th of this year. This exact card did sell on February 23rd of 2022. So same serial number and everything for $113. Okay. Both sales were via eBay and verified in Terapeak. Current bid on this is $31. I have no clue where to go, but I'm guessing under 100, probably, maybe. I don't know. You never know with this because it's an exclusive. And subgrades, like how's it compared to other ones that were out there?
All right, last one, Troy. 2015 Upper Deck Champs, Connor McDavid, short print, rookie auto, BGS 9.510, which is a gem mint.
Do you get into
And
like?
auto
Do you
grade.
like these champs cards?
Well, yeah, I kind of so
If you get into it, we can wait.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
So, and I definitely want to get your input on
Okay.
it. I picked the card because I think it's a cool looking McDavid rookie
Yep.
auto, and honestly, know little to nothing about Champs hockey.
Mm-hmm.
The only exposure I've ever had is as a subset in UD Clear Cut, and I always remember it's the card I didn't want to get in Clear Cut.
It's the one that's not clear.
Yeah, it's the one that, because it's like, well, how is this a Clear Cut card? It's sort of it's like SP game used, right? Sorry.
Oh, geez, here we go.
Well, Champs was released as a full set by Upper Deck in 2015-16. They are paper cards, like very similar to OPG paper, similar stock, I would say. Position as a lower end product. So even today, Troy, you can get a 2015-16 Champs hobby box for about $200 US,
which is really good price for 2015.
What kind of made me think of, would this be a fun one for,
Oh, Chateau.
Each box comes with one auto too.
Oh, hold on. I'm writing this down. I'm going to buy a box. You can tell now you can tell kind of I've given away what I think about 2015 or what I think about Champs.
McDavid is a short print auto, a tougher chase. Pack odds to hit this card were 1 in 639. The cards are very clean. That's what I do like about it. It's got a nice auto. It's not like exactly a photo. It's not to the filtered like the cup renditions cards where they look very painterly-esque, but this almost looks like a drawing of McDavid is sort of the filter maybe or effect put on the photo. The auto looks great. The grade is a Gem Mint Plus, meaning all 4 subgrades are at least 9.5, and then there's one, I think it's Edges 10 grade, and you're a huge Edges fan, so
love Edges.
Probably very, very exciting for you. Yeah, I know it's not high end, but I just think it's a nice looking McDavid auto. And I think I have the pop count too. So there's 25 BGS 9.5s, 0 BGS 10s. There's 9 PSA 10s.
Okay.
Too. So there's like 34, call it, combined pop. So again, not a huge number there. So I'll turn it over to you. What are your thoughts?
I have exactly what you said about Champs. A lot of people don't like them or heard it's the card I don't want. It's a cheap one. I actually like how they look. I got a Pekka. I know I bought one on eBay a while ago, but I like the design and how they look. And now that you told me that you can get a 2015 box for a reasonable price, I'm going to go buy one.
Well, an all-time high sale for a 2015-16 Champs Connor McDavid rookie short print auto BGS 9.510 was $5,000 just a couple weeks ago on June 20th. Also, of course, the most recent sale too. So out of a $200 box, here's a $5,000 sale. That's not bad.
No.
You got a current bid?
$575 US.
Okay, be sure to check out these amazing hockey cards and all the other cards in this week's PWCC weekly auction at pwccmarketplace.com. Personal pickups, what do you got?
Nothing.
Me too. I'm still working on some kind of big. I need to sell cards though to get this. I want to sell cards. I'm not good at selling. I'm way, way better at buying. So if you want to buy my cards, just reach out.
Yeah, just for whatever price.
Yeah, money in hand. All right, if you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, want to support us, want to chat with us every day on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 donation. Join at a $1.99 support level tier. You can do that via Patreon. Link is in the show description, both podcast apps and on YouTube, in our Instagram, TikTok profiles. You go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, click on the Become a Patron link, or go to the Patreon website directly, patreon.com. We're on social media. Hey, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures LLC. We'll be back on Monday with another super show.